Chapter 268. The exams passed smoothly, and Li Fan was discharged from the hospital. He was supposed to stay for at least half a month, but Li Fan's body recovered very quickly. In just 1 week, his bones had almost recovered. Even the doctors could not help but exclaim that it was a miracle. Li Fan knew that it was all thanks to Yuxi's bone-replenishing pill that allowed him to recover so quickly. He also successfully passed the exam this time, and his results were also very good, so good that even Chang Chuanxi couldn't find any fault with it. This made Chang Chuanxi very unhappy. The principal was also very unhappy. But they had no excuse to pick on Li Fan. They could only close one eye and watch Li Fan return to school smoothly. But as the saying goes, some are happy while others are sad. Li Fan passed the exams smoothly, but there were people running around for the exams. Lu Quan was originally an ordinary student in number 2 private high school. He thought that would be the end of his life. He would graduate from high school, get into a good university, and find a good job. That would be his life. But he did not expect to encounter a so-called high-pressure policy. Lu Quan did not do well in the exams this time. His results were second from the bottom. Who was the first from the bottom? It was Hua Dehong. But the school said that Hua Dehong had missed some classes because he was injured and was hospitalized. So, he was not included in the results. As a result, Lu Quan became the last student in the school. The high-pressure policy was implemented by the principal. When Lu Quan's results were announced, his notice of expulsion also came. Lu Quan almost wet his pants when he saw the notice. His family was average. In order to attend number 2 private high school, his family had borrowed a lot of money to support his studies. Although Lu Quan's results were bad, he had been studying hard. But he was a little stupid. Now that the notice arrived, Lu Quan felt like he was going to collapse. His parents even went to the school to plead with the teacher. In Lu Quan's heart, his father was an Iron Man. He was 1.8 meters tall, and no matter where he went, he would always hold his head high. The person Lu Quan worshipped the most was his own father. This was the first time Lu Quan saw his father kneeling in front of the teacher. But the school was unmoved. "Your son's grades are too bad." The school teacher whispered to Lu Quan's parents, "You've always been ranked last in the exams." Expulsion was a little heartless, but second high school was an elite school. With Lu Quan's results, he would not be able to keep up with the rest of the school, and his learning would be worse. Why don't you find a normal school and study hard? Maybe your grades will improve. After hearing this, Lu Quan's mother felt a little hopeless and begged bitterly. "Teacher, you can't fire Lu Quan. In order for our child to successfully attend the No. 2 private high school, our family borrowed a lot of money. If I'm fired, what will happen to my family? Teacher, please be merciful. The 2 of us will do anything to repay your kindness. Parents, this has nothing to do with you. Lu Quan's results don't meet our school's rules. Survival of the fittest. There's nothing we can do about it. Hurry up and get up. Hurry up and find a suitable school for Lu Quan." No matter how much the parents begged, it was useless. The child's father finally bit his lips and asked in a hoarse voice, "Teacher, since he dropped out of school, can we refund some of the sponsorship fees?" Second high school sponsorship fees were very expensive. But the teacher shook his head. "How can we do that? The sponsorship fees must be paid when you go to school. This is the school's rule. It will never be refunded." "But our child hasn't finished his 3rd year of school. Moreover, our family is really poor." "This is your family's own situation. We are not responsible for dealing with it." The teacher's attitude was very tough. "Moreover, you haven't paid this month's tuition fees. At most, we can help you apply for a waiver." "Teacher, please help us. Lu Quan is a good boy, just a bit stupid." The parents were still trying, but the teacher still did not relent. Lu Quan stood at the door, watching this scene. His face was very sad. The 2 sides were in a deadlock for a long time. Chang Chunxi just walked into the office. "Director Chang, you're here. Quickly help me talk to these parents. These 2 students' parents are not listening." The teacher quickly asked for help. "2 parents, whatever you say is useless. This is the school's rule. It can't be changed." Chang Chuanxi's attitude was even more tough. "Not only your child. If other students violate this rule, they will also be expelled. This is your child's problem. Don't blame our school. After all, the school has so many students. Why only expel your family's student and not others? You should reflect on yourselves instead of begging the school endlessly. But this result, we really can't accept it. Lu Quan's mother wiped her tears. Our Lu Quan is also very introverted. I'm afraid he also can't accept it. What can he do? Do you think he will jump off the building? Chang Chuanxi despised children who are not good at learning. Just as he sneered, a black shadow suddenly fell from the window. Then there was a bang sound coming from the bottom of the building. Everyone in the office froze for a moment. Then there was a scream coming from outside. Someone jumped off the building. Mother and son were connected. Lu Quan's mother seemed to have thought of something. Her vision turned black and she directly fainted. Lu Quan's father quickly helped her up. But his legs were also weak. He also fell to the ground. Some of the surrounding teachers went to help them up. Some looked out the window. At this time, Chang Chuanxi was still in a daze. There seemed to be a slight buzzing sound in his ears. What situation is this? That Lu Quan really jumped off the building? As the saying goes, good news doesn't go out, but bad news travels 1,000 miles. In just a few minutes, the news of a student jumping off the building spread throughout the school. Especially the ambulances and police cars were all parked in the school grounds. This made the students feel that the school was covered with a layer of oppression. This matter is very serious. It must be dealt with seriously. The headmaster sat in his office, smoking an endless cigarette. The few hairs he had seemed to be falling off less. Dean Chang, do you know how to deal with this? The principal asked his right-hand man. I understand, principal. Chang Chuanxi said, the school only gave a suggestion to expel him. It was Lu Quan who is too introverted. He misunderstood the school's intention and chose the wrong method. Very well. Go and do it. The city is currently evaluating the school. The school will be competing for the Provincial Excellent School. At this juncture, there must be no mistakes. Do you understand? I understand. Chapter 269. The incident at number 2 private high school had caused quite a stir in City A. City A wasn't particularly big, nor was it particularly small. Some small matters couldn't be spread around, but someone jumping off a building wasn't a small matter in City A. Especially for a famous school like number 2 private high school, a student jumping off a building was even more shocking. Not only was it on the news, but it was also being circulated in WeChat moments. Especially before Lu Quan jumped off the building, he left behind a suicide note. The content of the note was very simple. Mom and Dad, I'm sorry, your son can't be filial to you. I hate this materialistic world. I hate the teachers and principal of number 2 private high school. I hope that in my next life, I can be an outstanding child to repay you. A simple suicide note, but it seemed to be full of blood and tears. One of Lu Quan's parents was sick, and the other was fighting a lawsuit every day. But the school claimed that Lu Quan's suicide was his own action. The school only expelled him based on his grades, and didn't force him to drop out. Moreover, number 2 private high school even held a school meeting to warn the students to be responsible for their words and actions, to be strong, and not to follow in Lu Quan's footsteps. All the students of the school were gathered in the hall, including Li Fan, who was still talking to Bai Lin Luo. This matter is clearly the school's fault. Li Fan was a little unhappy. Why did they have to use this high-pressure policy? Now, they forced him to his death, and they still want to shirk the responsibility. Right now is the critical time for the evaluation. The school will not admit their mistake. Little Four pushed his glasses and said, "Didn't you see, there are people from the Ministry of Education around, and even some reporters. Now is the time for the school to show their attitude. I'm afraid today's meeting will be very unpleasant." Long before the meeting, Chang Chuanxi had already given instructions to the students in class. If anyone dared to speak carelessly, they would be given a demerit. In number 2 private high school, 2 demerits would cause one to be expelled. The principal and some school leaders slowly walked to the podium, and the students below also quieted down. Li Fan stood among the students, looking at the principal who had lost a lot of his hair. He really wanted to know what kind of flowery words he would say. "Dear students, I'm sorry to meet you under such circumstances." The principal sat there with a solemn expression on his face. "I believe that everyone has just received such unfortunate news. Lu Quan from our second-year class 6 couldn't bear the weakness in his heart and left us forever in a painful way." As the principal spoke, he took out a handkerchief and wiped his dry eyes, looking like he was wiping away tears. "After I heard the news, I didn't sleep well for a few days, and I was very sad. Although Lu Quan has been expelled from the school, in my heart, he will always be a student of our second middle school." Li Fan couldn't help but sneer in his heart. He really didn't expect the principal to have such good acting skills. With her acting skills, it shouldn't be a problem for her to win an Oscar or something, right? Was he grieving over the departure of his students? Bullshit, he would only grieve for his own future. Maybe I was wrong. I always thought that everyone's mind was already very complete, but I didn't expect that there would still be people with such poor mental endurance. After a meeting with our school's higher-ups, we have decided to add a psychology course in the future. I hope that everyone can communicate with our psychiatrist more, and don't leave us in such a sad way. Remember, everyone still has parents and a future. Don't give up your life so easily. Alright, I'll stop here. After the principal finished speaking, there was sparse applause. A few teachers stared at the students, and the applause became enthusiastic. But at this moment, a few people knocked open the main door of the hall and staggered in. Murder. The one who rushed in was Lu Quan's mother. Even though she was sick, she still dragged her sick body over. The moment she entered, she pointed at the principal's nose and started scolding. "You murderer!" All the reporters' cameras instantly pointed at Lu Quan's mother, and the principal hurriedly ordered the security guards to hold back this agitated mother. "This lady, please calm down. We are also very sad about Lu Quan's death. But his death has nothing to do with the school." "Nonsense, it's you. You murderer. If you didn't use that kind of shameful policy to expel my son, would he have committed suicide?" Lu Quan's mother's face was full of tears. Her tears should have dried up, but at this time, they flowed out uncontrollably. Compared to a few days ago, she had lost a lot of weight, and her whole person was like a skeleton. "I want to be here, to hold a memorial for my Quan. Today is the 7th day of his death." As Lu Quan's mother spoke, she placed the candlesticks and other things in the hall. "Quan, Mom brought you your favorite drumstick? Misses you so much." All the students in the hall could not help but look, and the reporters kept snapping photos. The principal was anxious, and a few leaders from the Ministry of Education were watching. How could this continue? "Quick, ask her to leave," the principal ordered, and Chang Chuanxi hurried forward and together with the security guards, held back Lu Quan's mother. "This lady, please leave. We understand your grief, but the school is not responsible." Bullshit. Lu Quan's mother became even more agitated and raised her hand to give Chang Chuanxi a slap. "It's not your bullshit high-pressure policy. Is my son going to die?" Hearing this, I can't stay silent anymore. The principal frowned and said, "The school's high-pressure policy is the result of my decades of hard work. Facts have proven that the high-pressure policy is right, and it is an effective way to improve every student's academic performance. Of course, this survival of the fittest is a bit cruel, but the students who are eliminated every week, we use the method of persuading them to leave. Moreover, these students cannot keep up with our progress, so it is meaningless to force them to stay in number 2 middle school. Choosing a suitable middle school is their only way out. This is the correct education policy. There is nothing wrong with it. Private number 2 middle school is a place that accepts elites." Lu Quan's mother was even more pained, and she covered her face and cried loudly. "Lu Quan, this child is too introverted. This is his own personal problem, and it is also the problem of your parents' upbringing. Please don't push the blame of your own problems onto the school. Doing so will only trouble us and also trouble my students." "Principal Hua, do you really think that this policy is correct?" A reporter could not help but ask. "Of course, the effect is already very obvious, isn't it? The principal proudly said, "Our school's overall score has increased by 10%. And my students also like this policy, isn't it?" Chapter 270. The reporter handed the microphone to a student. That student was stunned for a moment and quickly said, "Yes, it's not bad." The other teachers gave their students a look, and all the students followed suit. "It's really good. My grades have indeed improved. Everyone has seen it." "I'm right." The principal's voice was raised by an octave. "Everything I do is for my students, for my school. I'm a democratic principal. Now I'm here to ask, is there anyone who objects to my policy?" All the students were silent. No one uttered a word. Just when the principal was about to ask him to leave, Leaf Fan suddenly came out from the crowd and stepped to the front. "I object." The principal's scalp was about to explode. "Damn it. I've forgotten about this bastard." This was supposed to be a big meeting to reverse the situation. Would it be ruined by this thorn? The principal quickly gave Chang Chuanxi a look. Chang Chuanxi understood the principal's meaning. He immediately stepped forward and blocked Li Fan. "Li Fan, this is not the place for you to make trouble." Chang Chuanxi scolded, "Hurry back to your class." "This is not right." Li Fan saw all the reporters pointed their cameras at him. He raised his head and his voice was raised by an octave. Just now the principal asked who objected. "Why did you ask me to go back when I came out to object? Could it be that the so-called democracy that the principal mentioned is just empty talk? Or is it just beautiful words used to deceive the leaders of the Education Bureau?" "Li Fan, how can you say that? Watch your words." Hearing Li Fan said so, Chang Chuanxi's heart was beating fast and he quickly scolded. "Then can I continue to speak?" Li Fan asked. "This student, if you have anything to say, just say it." The principal clenched his teeth and almost squeezed out these words from his teeth. "My dear principal, you said that your high-pressure policy is correct and perfect. Then I have a question to ask you." Li Fan took out a report card that he had prepared earlier. Then why wasn't Hua Dehong, the last student on the report card, expelled? Instead, Lu Quan, the second last student, was expelled? The principal's expression tightened. He thought to himself, so it's coming. He couldn't speak, but Chang Chuanxi explained on his behalf. "Li Fan, don't make a fuss. Hua Dehong was injured and had to stay in the hospital for a period of time. Naturally, he couldn't keep up with his studies. Even if it's an oppressive policy, we still have to be humanitarian." "Oh, that's interesting." Li Fan chuckled. "When I was hospitalized, the school still sent a teacher to the hospital to set up an examination hall for me. And he even threatened to fire me if I fell into the bottom 10? This was humanitarianism. Why was it only open to special people? Principal, Teacher Chang, can you explain?" "Li Fan, you're being unreasonable." Chang Chuanxi immediately said. "You were only hospitalized for a few days, but Hua Dehong was hospitalized for a long time. Is this the real reason? I'm afraid the real reason is Hua Dehong's identity. After all, this student Hua is our principal's son." Once this was said, the crowd was in an uproar. The reporters and people from the Education Bureau started discussing. Li Fan's words were like a bomb. The principal's son was exempted from the school's high-pressure policy and chose a scapegoat? Lu Quan's mother heard this and was even more heartbroken. "Murderer, you murderer! Family members, please calm down. Others, please don't make a fuss." The principal's heart was beating fast. This situation made him panic. But he was, after all, experienced and astute. He took a deep breath and calmed his emotions. In this situation, there must be no mistakes. He was a teacher with decades of teaching experience. How could he lose to such a scumbag student? "Li Fan, Hua Dehong has been hospitalized for more than a month. He is seriously out of touch with the curriculum. It's inevitable that his results are lagging behind. His situation is different from yours. In order to improve your results, I've specially arranged for a teacher to tutor you, right?" Li Fan clenched his fist. The principal, this old bastard, is really shameless. Teacher Liao was the one who wanted to go, but he said that the school sent him. Humans, you can't be shameless to this extent. You can't be a principal, damn it. However, It was useless for Li Fan to say these words. No one would believe him if he said it without evidence. It was supposed to be a crisis for the principal, but he used one sentence to suppress it. This damn old fox, he's really cunning. Li Fan cursed in his heart. He turned around and looked at Lu Quan's mother, who was crying her heart out. He couldn't help but feel annoyed. If it was any other time, it would be fine if the principal was shameless. But now, because of his shamelessness and selfishness, he caused the death of an innocent student and destroyed a happy family. Even so, he didn't have any remorse. He stubbornly believed that he was not at fault. This kind of power, could it be that he will always be above the students' heads? Now there is already a victim. If this continues, I'm afraid that there will be more and more victims in the future. If I don't stand up, I'm afraid that in the future, private number 2 high school will become a real mourning hall. I'm a student of private number 2 high school. I strongly oppose this so-called high-pressure policy. Li Fan shouted loudly. His true energy vibrated. His voice wasn't loud, but it filled the whole place. We have more than 1,000 people here, but only I dare to stand up and say no to this person? Where's your courage? Where's your voice? Li Fan looked at those indifferent students behind him. Aren't you worried that you'll be the one being expelled? If the one who died today was not Lu Quan, but you. If the one crying here today was not this auntie, but your mother, what would you think? High-pressure policy? Just a high-pressure policy and you all succumb? We are 18 years old this year. We are standing here this year. This year, we are facing a life choice. Tell us loudly, what is your future? Is it this kind of survival where your throat is being choked? Li Fan said loudly, Li Fan, am just an ordinary student. But I don't want to be a victim of high-pressure policy. I'm a student, I want to defend my human rights. What about you? Do you choose to die here, or do you choose to rebel with me? If you want to rebel, please stand up bravely and say with me, I oppose this person. I oppose. Bai Lin Luo stood up, raised his right hand and shouted at the principal. Chapter 271. I also object. Another student in the crowd weakly raised his hand. I also object. Some students in 2s and 3s also said. This is crazy. Chang Chuanxi scolded, don't you miss it? Do you want to rebel? More students came out and raised their right hand at the same time. It seemed that because there were others who stood up and more people came forward, more and more students also gained courage. Perhaps this is the power of a leader. Why some people can become a leader and some can't? Because some people can forget those obstacles, cut off their means of retreat, and bravely stand up. Li Fan is such a person. His appearance led to more dissatisfied people. For a time, as if wildflowers bloomed all over the hillside, more and more students raised their hands, filling the entire hall. The voice of objection was so powerful that even the glass windows of the great hall were rattled. Crazy. All crazy. All crazy. Chang Chuanxi looked at these students who rebelled together, his eyes somewhat dull. He never thought that the students under his management would one day join hands to resist the school. Shut up. All of you shut up. Seeing so many people rebelling against him, the principal finally couldn't calm down. Both of his hands pressed on the podium, the blue veins on his forehead protruded. The anger in his heart couldn't be controlled, rushing to the top of his head. He had never been so angry. Why did the faces of these students become so twisted, so hateful? They are not students, they are all devils. You bastard students, are you crazy? Are you ungrateful? It's me. It's my gift that allowed you to enter this sacred temple of learning. It's me who meticulously created the high-pressure policy for you, allowing your score to increase so much. If not for me and my private number 2 middle school, can you guys stand here in this school uniform? You will only flow into society and become dregs. Not only are you not grateful to me, but you are also shouting at me. You are lower than pigs and dogs. Quickly apologize to me. Apologize. The principal's crazy look scared the teachers, including the leaders of the Education Bureau. The reporters pointed the camera at the principal, flashing nonstop. What are you filming? You bunch of rats. You only know how to seek novelty. Do you know how much I've sacrificed for this school? Principal Hua, calm down. The old shareholder who trusted the principal the most couldn't help but step forward and persuade him. This guy had already lost his composure. He was probably stimulated by the students. He had really embarrassed the school. He had to regain the school's face. If you don't calm down, I'll have to consider the candidate for the headmaster. Principal candidate? The principal is mine. The principal stretched out his hand and grabbed the old shareholder's collar. Old man, you've taken more than $1 million from me. If you don't let me be the principal, who will? What nonsense are you talking about? The old shareholder's face turned pale. He pushed the principal away and straightened his collar. Did you forget to take your medicine? No one can dismiss me. The principal pointed at Li Fan. Isn't it that rascal? A mere school scum. What's so great about him? Why do I have to put up with him and you useless shareholders? All of you just sit there and wait to collect the money. If not for me increasing the school's enrollment rate, do you think you would be able to earn money? I'm your cash cow, do you know that? Crazy, you're crazy too. The old shareholder's face was full of cold sweat. These topics were too explosive for the principal to say. If these contents were written by the reporters and reported by the Ministry of Education, it would be terrible. I'm sorry. Our principal has not been well for the past 2 days. He had a high fever today. He might be talking nonsense. The secretary saw the old shareholder's expression and rushed forward to support the principal. At the same time, he was explaining to the media and the Ministry of Education. An eye for an eye. Give me back my son's life. Lu Quan's mother was still crying, and Li Fan led all the students to shout together. Vection, vection, vection. Enough, enough. All of you, that's enough. The principal's face was red. He roared like a ferocious beast. A bunch of pigs and dogs. How dare you rebel against me? I'm the principal. I want to expel all of you. All of you. Principal Hua, your days as a principal have come to an end. Li Fan said loudly. Although the surrounding voices were like waves, his voice was still clearly transmitted to everyone's ears. This was the power of vital energy. It was like a demonic voice, deafening to the ears. This voice seemed to have awakened the principal. He stood there and looked at Li Fan. His gaze was slightly dazed. What did you say? I said that your days as a principal have come to an end. Li Fan pointed at the principal's nose and said, Hua Jingyi, to think that you have this name. From today onwards, the days of you and your precious son being arrogant and despotic are over. What bullshit high-handed policies. Go to hell. We students have our own way of living. We won't be a money-making tool for people like you. What's the point of a school's existence? Is it to train students into machines? And Lu Quan's mother, I know your pain, but please don't cry. Lu Quan's death was caused by Hua Jingyi. But you are also responsible. If you didn't want Lu Quan to become an elite student with high scores, you wouldn't have sent him to such a place. He wouldn't be in such a tragedy today. With that, Li Fan walked up to the podium. None of the surrounding teachers dared to stop him. They seemed to be shocked by the aura that he was emitting. Students, remember, we are free. Other than studying, we still have many things to do when we are 18 years old. Don't waste all of our time on studying. Please release our hobbies. From today onwards, I announce that the high-handed policies will be lifted. All the clubs in the school will be restored. Those so-called weekly exams will also be cancelled. Throw away your colored glasses. Let the school treat all students equally. This place is for education, not for exploitation. What right do you have to decide all of this? You are only a student. Chang Chuanxi berated. You are mistaken. I am not the one who decides all of this. Li Fan looked at Chang Chuanxi and raised his hand with a smile. He pointed at the students below. It's us. All of us. Chapter 272. Private Number 2 High School, Hua Jingyi was officially removed from his position as principal. This was indeed a big deal for Number 2 High School. Many shareholders of Number 2 High School were implicated because of Hua Jingyi. Their bribery scandals were exposed. The upper management of number 2 high school experienced a terrifying upheaval. However, the students didn't care about this at all. They were happy because the high-pressure policy that oppressed them for a long time was finally gone. All kinds of annoying rules were gone. The school changed to a new leader. Other than grades, the students began to develop in an all-round way. The club once again obtained the rights to operate. The weekend classes were also temporarily cancelled. For the students, this was an unprecedented victory. After all, the upper management of the school had always been the strong ones, and the students were the weak ones. In the past, the students had to follow whatever the school said. This time, they won, and it was a complete victory. Private number 2 high school also established a student autonomy committee, or simply the student council. The student council completely replaced the previous student council, including the discipline committee, which was also abolished by the student council. When Li Fan saw Deng Siwei being stripped of her armband, that feeling of astonishment made him feel good in his heart. Students! Li Fan became the first chairman of the Student Autonomy Committee. When he went on stage to give a speech, he only said one sentence. The inhumane hierarchy is finally over. Every school had an invisible hierarchy. All the good students were a cut above the others, and all the bad students were a head lower. But on this day, all of this was over. Li Fan didn't want to rule this school. He didn't have the ability to do so. What he wanted was very simple. He just wanted a normal school, a school that could treat every student fairly. Chang Chuanxi also left private number 2 high school dejectedly. The two people who had always claimed that they would kick Li Fan out of the school had left first. From Li Fan's point of view, both of them deserved to be punished. Why do you still look unhappy? After school, Bai Lin Luo packed his bag and asked Li Fan. Yes, I'm not feeling good. Li Fan leaned on his chair. His face was not looking good. But didn't we obtain the final victory? Bai Lin Luo looked at Li Fan, puzzled. Why aren't you happy? Because an innocent student died. Li Fan sighed. Why must someone die before someone awakens? All victories are accompanied by blood. Bai Lin Luo seemed especially cold at this moment. He displayed an indifference that didn't belong to a high school student. As the saying goes, a general's success is built on the bones of 10,000 people. It's just one person's death. You shouldn't take it to heart. Li Fan suddenly stared at Bai Lin Luo. His gaze seemed to be able to see through Bai Lin Luo's eyes, causing Bai Lin Luo to feel a chill down his spine. You look like a wretched uncle. Bai Lin Luo subconsciously clutched his chest, earning a supercilious look from Li Fan. Fuck off. I just thought you sounded really panicky just now. Li Fan said, after all, you're just a high school student. How can you say such cold and heartless words? Because I'm your strategist. Bai Lin Luo adjusted his spectacles. I shouldn't have any feelings in the first place. What you said is so childish. Hey, I'm being sincere. Your reaction is too bad. Bai Lin Luo looked quite wronged. Li Fan laughed. Didn't you say that you shouldn't have any feelings? That's when I'm giving you ideas. Bai Lin Luo looked at Li Fan angrily. Usually, this baby is also very willful, okay? My fault. Li Fan patted Bai Lin Luo's shoulder. Forgive me, military advisor Bai. I don't want to talk to you anymore. I'm going to play chess with Yen Kai. Bai Lin Luo always liked playing chess. Usually, only Guan Wenbao could play with him. Now, there was Yen Kai, and the two of them had the same hobby. The two of them had to play chess several times a day. Li Fan really couldn't figure out what was so fun about playing chess. Why are you so close to Yen Kai recently? Li Fan suddenly asked. Is there any secret deal between the two of you? Nonsense. Bai Lin Luo suddenly became anxious. My heart belongs to the beautiful and generous teacher Liao. No other men or women can get close to me. I'm so loyal. You're the most loyal. Li Fan felt speechless. He just made a joke, but he didn't expect Bai Lin Luo to be so serious. However, Little Four's seriousness gave Li Fan a headache. The more serious he was, the more he liked Liao Wushuang. If he knew that he had a date with Liao Wushuang, would he go crazy with anger? Actually, if he was angry, It would be easy to solve. If he didn't say anything and chose to stay silent, then it would be really difficult to solve. There was an old saying that went like this: Femme fatale. This saying was most suitable to be used at this time. What should I do? Oh right, I should explain to Liao Wuxuang that the previous love letter was not written by me, but by Lin Luo's work. But aren't we just a normal teacher-student relationship? Oh right, during class, it's teacher-student relationship. After class, it's just a friendship. This kind of relationship is very legitimate. As the saying goes, an upright person is not afraid of a crooked shadow. There's no need to make things difficult for me with Bai Lin Luo, right? Maybe I should find a time to introduce Bai Lin Luo and Liao Wuxuang to each other? That's right, this is a good idea. Li Fan, you're really too smart. What are you thinking about? Bai Lin Luo looked at the dazed Li Fan and couldn't figure out what he was thinking. I'll go first, you be careful. You said it like I don't have the ability to take care of myself. Li Fan curled his lips. What do I have to be careful about? I'm a man, how could I be molested by anyone? If this was said out, it might sound like a chunibyu. Your head is worth a lot of money now. Bai Lin Luo reminded Li Fan, you're a general, you can't be killed so casually. Rest assured, the person who can kill me hasn't been born yet. Li Fan gave Bai Lin Luo a reassuring smile. The current him has officially reached the peak of his strength. The strength of 5 dragons is enough to run amok in the world. Although there would still be countless experts, he had the strength to fight them all. From today onwards, he will be a veritable little overlord. Chapter 273. The Little Tyrant Li Fan? Interesting. This person is a hot topic in the Jianghu recently. His head is mine. In the Jianghu, there was a place called Golden Eagle Castle. This Golden Eagle Castle was a place that people in the Jianghu liked to gather at. The castle master was also a famous person called Yin Wuchao, nicknamed Golden Eagle of the Desert. He befriended heroes from all over the world, and many people in the Jianghu came to become his followers. Recently, this Golden Eagle Castle was very lively. In the small square of the Golden Eagle Castle, there was a notice posted. On it was a portrait of a person. It was Li Fan without a doubt. A man wearing a bamboo hat reached out and tore down the notice. Looking at the portrait, he curled his lips. What little tyrant, bullshit. Yo, you even dare to tear down little tyrant's notice. What kind of hero are you? A few customers who were chatting in the tea house immediately turned their gazes to this man. I, your father, will never change my name. I am Yan Xiao. That man still had a leaf in his mouth, looking sloppy. I, your father, hate those who don't live up to their name. If I meet them, I will take his head and take his name. My dear brother, your words are quite loud. Which sect are you from? A few customers could not help but ask with a smile. In this Jianghu, there was no lack of people who did not have strength but were ambitious. I, your father, am from the Sichuan Tang sect. As Yan Xiao spoke, he lifted his pocket with one hand and lifted his clothes with the other, revealing a row of darts on his belt. The standard Tang clan darts were also wearing a Tang clan jade pendant. The quality was exquisite and it was expensive. It was obviously not a fake. Ah, Tang sect, a master with a brilliant disciple, everyone murmured, and they had a higher opinion of Yan Xiao. As the saying goes, a person's reputation is like a tree's shadow. In the Jianghu, those famous heroes naturally had their names spread far and wide. And those who were more influential than them were the famous sects in the Jianghu. After all, a hero could only influence for a few years, a dozen years, or even a few decades. But a sect could influence the Jianghu for hundreds of years. The Tang sect was such a sect. It had many outstanding disciples, and everyone in the Jianghu had to look up to them. Yan Xiao himself was also a proud disciple of the Tang sect. He left the mountain this time to create his own reputation. Brother Yan seems to be a man of striking appearance. Why don't you try the groom search competition? What do you mean by a martial competition for a spouse? Yan Zhao's ears immediately perked up. However, he was a proud and arrogant person. In his heart, he thought, which family's daughter would be worthy of a Tang sect disciple like me? Brother Yan doesn't know about this? The surrounding customers looked at Yan Xiao with some surprise. That's really surprising. This matter has caused quite a stir in the underworld recently. Why don't you tell me? Yan Xiao then sat opposite them, while that tea guest continued, this Golden Eagle Castle's castle master has a daughter as beautiful as a flower. It was said that he was a bit wild and free, giving Castle Master Ian quite a headache. Now that the Fort Master's daughter is in her 20s, Fort Master Ian wants to find a suitable husband to betroth to her and tame her temperament. Oh, there's actually such a thing. When Yan Xiao heard this, he knew that this Golden Eagle Castle was very big. That Castle Master Ian was also a well-known figure in the underworld. If he could marry her daughter, it would also be a wonderful thing. For a young talent like him to marry her, it would be a match made in heaven. Therefore, Castle Master Ian plans to choose a good day to hold a martial competition for a spouse. He will choose the world's heroes to be his son-in-law. Sigh, if it weren't for my low strength, I would also want to give it a try. Forget it, don't even think about it. Which young talent in the underworld doesn't want to be the son-in-law of the Golden Eagle Castle? With your mediocre martial arts, if you were to go on stage, I'm afraid you would be defeated in 2 or 3 moves. Pay, no matter what, I have practiced martial arts for 2 years. Alright, Hero Yen is sitting here. Why don't you go and ask him for some advice? Being called Hero Yen made Yan Zhao's heart burst with joy. Although these people's martial arts were not good, they had good foresight. Calling himself a hero was indeed worthy of the name. Yan Xiao was satisfied, but the tea guest from before slammed the table. Alright, I, Gao Mingyu, have practiced the iron thread fist for 2 years. Today, it's time to use it. As he spoke, the tea guest suddenly stood up. With a shake of his arms, his sleeves were immediately shattered, revealing the silver rings wrapped inside. With a knock of his arm, the tea table in front of him broke into 2 halves. However, Yan Xiao did not panic. As he held the teacup and drank tea, his other hand shook and a few tang darts on his waist disappeared. 3 tang darts flew out and pierced through the corner of Gao Mingyu's clothes, nailing him to the wall behind him. This dignified burly man did not even have the strength to resist the darts. Wonderful! Amazing! Everyone applauded and praised. Gao Mingyu blushed as he pulled out the darts on his clothes and cupped his hands at Yan Xiao. Hero Yen, you have good skills. I admire you. Well said, he. Yan Xiao was proud of himself. He took back his tang darts from Gao Mingyu's hands. With a shake of his hand, he neatly put them back into the dart pouch on his waist. As the saying goes, when an expert makes a move, you will know if it is real or not. With just a little bit of his skill, the surrounding people were all convinced. It seems that only a young talent like Hero Yen can pluck the golden flower of the Golden Eagle Castle. Aya, Hero Yen has such good skills. In the Jianghu, how many people can compare to him? As the surrounding people discussed, Yan Xiao was proud of himself. He was determined to be the son-in-law of the Golden Eagle Castle. As for the head of the little overlord, Li Fan, he had also taken it. Choo! Li Fan sneezed loudly and then rubbed his nose. Did you catch a cold? Liao Wushuang, who accompanied him, asked with concern. You have just recovered from a serious illness. I'm afraid your body has not recovered yet, right? I'm not that delicate. Li Fan rubbed his nose and said, maybe someone is talking about me. You are already a high school student. Why are you still so superstitious? Liao Wushuang gently flicked Li Fan's forehead with her finger. You have to believe in science. Do you understand? Teacher Liao, aren't we going on a date today? Why are we still talking about science? Li Fan rolled his eyes. In his heart, he was still wondering if it was the right decision to go on a date today. Originally, he wanted to explain it to Liao Wushuang when they met. But seeing Liao Wushuang, who was specially dressed today, Li Fan swallowed back his words. At this time, Liao Wushuang was wearing a white French shirt, black trousers, and a pair of beautiful high boots. This set of clothes was very fashionable, and it vividly reflected her devilish figure. Chapter 274. Whether a woman's figure is good or not, sometimes you won't be able to feel it. It is this devilish figure embellished with clothes that is the most attractive to men. At this time, Liao Wuxuang has perfectly reached this state. Li Fan has to admit that this woman is really pleasing to the eye. There is a saying that if you often look at beautiful women, you can increase your lifespan. Li Fan doesn't know if this is credible or not, but he now feels that if he looks at Liao Wuxuang a few more times, he can indeed live a few more years. The power of a beautiful woman is not to be underestimated. While Li Fan is muttering, Liao Wuxuang has taken the initiative to hold Li Fan's arm. This is a very common etiquette in the West, so Liao Wuxuang didn't care too much about it. What she didn't know is that her chest is pressing on Li Fan's arm. That amazing softness made Li Fan's heart beat faster. If this goes on, there will be some extreme physical reactions. Didn't I come here to explain to Liao Wuxuang? That's right, Li Fan, you can't fall into the trap of a beautiful woman. You have to be honest with me. Teacher Liao. Li Fan was about to explain, but Liao Wuxuang excitedly said, "This is my first date. Before, I was busy with my studies and never had the chance to enjoy a date. I'm a little excited." Right, Li Fan, what did you want to say to me? Nothing. Li Fan bitterly smiled and said, "I don't have any dating experience." Teacher Liao, please be considerate. How could that be? Liao Wuxuang looked at Li Fan with some disbelief. Don't you have a lot of girlfriends, our little Casanova? Teacher Liao, what are you talking about? I don't understand. Listening to Liao Wuxuang's obvious teasing, Li Fan simply pretended to be stupid. I have always been serious about my relationship and never flirt with girls. Really? Liao Wuxuang didn't believe Li Fan's nonsense. That classmate Lin likes you very much. Teacher Liao, that's because you don't understand her. Li Fan immediately explained, this woman is very narcissistic, but also very rational. In her heart, getting into a famous medical school is the most important thing. Other things will never be able to enter her heart. Okay, I take back my previous words. Liao Wuxuang shrugged. You're not a Casanova, because you don't understand women at all. Teacher Liao, why are you looking down on me? Li Fan felt that Liao Wuxuang. This Liao Wuxuang's heart. Although he didn't understand girls very well, it wasn't to the point where he didn't understand them at all. Liao to Liao I li shi not. But I say I not to lead I right. Liao Wuxuang waved her hand, leaned against Li Fan's arm, and glanced at her phone. Let's go shopping first, then eat and watch a movie. Isn't it a little cliché? Girls don't want too many surprises. They want romance. Liao Wuxuang told Li Fan, as long as the two of us are together and can be safe, it's better than anything else. Romance, surprise, a little bit of these things was enough. Remember, women are different from men. Women like stability. All right, you're the woman, you have the final say. Li Fan muttered to himself, anyway, I'm a man. I like excitement and adventure. All right, then follow me. Don't worry, I won't sell you. Liao Wuxuang winked at Li Fan and dragged him to her sports car. Sitting in this fashionable red sports car, Li Fan didn't know why, but he always felt like a gigolo. This feeling was indeed a little uncomfortable. So, Li Fan jumped out of the car and said to Liao Wuxuang, Teacher Liao, I'm out on a date today. How can I sit in your car? Then how do you plan to go? Take the bus? Liao Wuxuang blinked her eyes and asked curiously. Squeezing the bus, I'm afraid Liao Wuxuang has never experienced this before. Li Fan muttered to himself and then patted his chest. Teacher Liao, don't worry. How can I let you squeeze the bus when you're out on a date? I've already prepared a car for you. As long as Teacher Liao doesn't mind, it's fine. Li Fan was a very prideful person. Going out on a date, he indeed forgot to consider the transportation problem. But now that Liao Wuxuang had said it, how could he do it? He told Liao Wuxuang to calm down and then made a phone call. Hello, driver. I'm at 360 apartment. Come and pick me up. Remember, drive the best car. It must be luxurious and spacious, understand? Looking at Li Fan's serious look, Liao Wuxuang felt that it was very funny. She couldn't help but want to laugh, but she held it back. After all, Li Fan was very serious. If she laughed, it would be disrespectful to Li Fan. Teacher Liao, please wait for a moment. The car will be here soon. Li Fan looked domineering on the surface, but he was actually praying in his heart. Huang Lei, you have to work hard and drive a better car. Liao Wushuang wasn't in a hurry. Anyway, the day was still long. She wanted to see what new tricks Li Fan could come up with. About half an hour later, a bus stopped beside Li Fan. Huang Lei opened the window and shouted at Li Fan, "Big brother, I got the car you wanted. A luxurious bus with a big seat. I guarantee you'll be satisfied." Li Fan was dumbfounded. Liao Wushuang couldn't help but giggle. "Fuck you, Huang Lei, when can you be relied on?" Li Fan was on the verge of collapse. "What's the matter, big brother? Everything was done according to your instructions." Huang Lei was scolded and was stunned. "It's definitely luxurious. This car costs more than 500,000. Also, it's definitely spacious enough to lie down in it. The car vibrations are even more exciting." "Fuck off. Don't let me see you again." Li Fan clutched his temple. His head was hurting badly. "It seems like even my brain is hurting. What should I do with this clown by my side?" Just when Li Fan was depressed, a small electric car drove over. Yan Kai was shouting at Huang Lei. "Idiot, do you think Li Fan can drive that car? You're really a peerless idiot." Yan Kai said as he jumped off his electric car and pushed it to Li Fan. "Come, Li Fan, I'll lend you my luxury car. The leather seat is very comfortable. But you have to be careful. Don't scratch my car. When you're done, remember to charge it." "Fuck off." The veins on Li Fan's forehead were throbbing. "Don't you have any reliable subordinates?" Right at this moment, Guan Wenbao also rushed over and started scolding the two of them. "You two are giving trouble to my benefactor. Don't worry, my benefactor. I've prepared everything." Guan Wenbao cupped his hands at Li Fan. Li Fan was slightly comforted. Old Guan is still reliable. While speaking, Guan Wenbao raised 2 fingers and whistled. A strong Fergana horse jumped out from the grass and landed in front of Li Fan. "Benefactor, please get on the horse." Chapter 275. As the saying goes, 8 immortals cross the sea. Li Fan's brothers were each more unreliable than the last. After scolding the 3 of them away, Li Fan obediently got into Liao Wushuang's BMW Z4. It seemed that he was going to be a gigolo. Li Fan followed Liao Wushuang and drove all the way to the commercial center of a city. It could be said that this was the most prosperous place in a city, bustling with people. The 2 of them took a long time to find a parking space. Fortunately, this Z4 was small, so they finally found a gap and squeezed it in. Liao Wushuang also took the opportunity to show off her driving skills. When parking the car, she didn't hesitate at all. "I didn't expect Teacher Liao's parking skills to be so good. What an experienced driver." Li Fan couldn't help but praise. "It's okay. I didn't expect parking would be so difficult when I returned to China." Liao Wushuang couldn't help but laugh. "They say that everyone in the US has a car, but I feel like there are more cars on the road in China. China has a large population." Li Fan explained, "Nowadays, cars are not expensive, so more and more families can afford a car. With 30 to 50,000 yuan, they can drive a domestic car." "That's true. I think it's better to ride that horse." Liao Wushuang said with some regret, "It looks like a good purebred horse. If I could ride it all the way here, it would be very romantic. You don't have to find a place to park, you can just hold it." Imagination is always beautiful. Li Fan curled his lips. "What if the horse shit? Just let it hold it. Fuck, how do we communicate? Besides, there are no toilets for horses. Riding a horse on the street will only get detained by the traffic police." "Not romantic." Liao Wushuang sighed. "When I was in England, I often saw handsome female mounted police officers on the road." "You can ride me, female knight." Li Fan swallowed his words. If he said these words, it would be too erotic. He was a good child, he couldn't say things he shouldn't say. Li Fan's rationality saved him once again. Looking at Liao Wushuang in front of him, Li Fan said, "There are children on the road. What if the horses scare them?" He was really too kind to think of such a reason. "You're right." Liao Wushuang nodded. "Was I negligent, or did you think it through?" Li Fan, "Sometimes, I have to learn more from you." "Not at all. Teacher Liao, you think too highly of me." Li Fan, on the other hand, blushed. "Let's continue our date." I'll enjoy my first time." Liao Wushuang said seriously. Li Fan was evil in every way. These words couldn't help but cause people to have perverted thoughts. Liao Wushuang, this girl? Sometimes she really lacks defense. If I have such a girlfriend, I'll have a lot of benefits every day. What am I thinking? How could I think of something perverted? Li Fan slapped his cheek hard to wake himself up a little. Li Fan, what are you doing? Liao Wushuang was a little surprised to see Li Fan slap his face hard, making a loud sound. Why did this guy hit me for no reason? This is our city's custom. Li Fan laughed dryly and said, "It's a kind of encouragement for myself." "So that's how it is? What a strange custom." Liao Wushuang nodded. "Then why are you encouraging yourself? What's the matter?" No. This is my first date, so I'm a bit nervous, so I'm cheering myself on." Li Fan felt that he was telling more and more lies. "Oh, I understand." Liao Wushuang suddenly stretched out her hand. Li Fan was not on guard against her, so she immediately patted his cheek. Then, Liao Wushuang slapped his cheek again. "I'm cheering for both of us, come on." Li Fan was very regretful. If he knew this would happen, he would have changed this lie to a kiss. Why did he say to slap my cheek? But looking at it this way, there might be an unexpected harvest today. Li Fan's plan was good, but he soon began to regret it. As the saying goes, shopping is a woman's nature, including Liao Wushuang, a woman full of philosophy. Usually, she looked very thoughtful, but when she was on the street, she immediately turned into a little woman. "This sportswear is pretty." Liao Wushuang stopped when she reached a sports brand store. "What the? Are these shoes made of gold?" Li Fan saw a pair of running shoes on the shelf and was shocked by the price. In the past, a pair of Adidas running shoes, the price made Li Fan flinch. But the price of this pair of shoes could buy several pairs of Adidas. "Li Fan, come and try on this sportswear." Liao Wushuang pointed at a set of sportswear. This sportswear was red on the top and black on the bottom. It looked very handsome on the model. "I don't want it, it's too expensive." Li Fan quickly waved his hand, but the salesperson next to him could see that Liao Wushuang was a rich man. After all, although Liao Wushuang's clothes were simple, all of her clothes were branded. She immediately stepped forward and introduced, "Miss, you really have a good eye. This sportswear is the latest American imitation of nanotechnology products. In addition to good breathability, it is also very strong. To a certain extent, it can't be pulled." With that, she personally demonstrated by pulling the sportswear. The sportswear was pulled very wide, but there were no signs of it being torn. Li Fan also pulled it and found that it was indeed very tough. Wearing such sportswear, even if he were to undergo alien bone changing, he wouldn't be torn, right? "Then take it along with this pair of running shoes." Liao Wushuang took out a gold card and handed it to the salesperson. The salesperson happily took it. "This is not good, it's too expensive for you." Li Fan was very embarrassed. "It's okay. Today is your birthday. Just take it as a birthday gift from your teacher." "Ah? My birthday?" Li Fan came to a sudden realization. So today was his birthday. He had forgotten about it. Usually, it was his mother who reminded him. But this year, his mother had gone on a trip and had probably forgotten about the date. And the one who remembered his birthday was actually Liao Wushuang. This was really unexpected and shocking. "Teacher, remember to give me a gift on your birthday." Liao Wushuang winked at Li Fan. "Then when is teacher's birthday?" Li Fan quickly asked. "I'm not telling you. You have to check it yourself." Liao Wushuang said and stuffed the sportswear into Li Fan's hands. "Go and try it." Chapter 276. At first, Li Fan didn't understand why Liao Wushuang chose to date today. Originally, it was just an ordinary holiday, but now, Li Fan seemed to understand. This teacher Liao is quite considerate. However, Li Fan was quite touched that someone remembered his birthday. Huh. Seeing Li Fan in a brand new sportswear, even Liao Wushuang couldn't help but be a little surprised. This Li Fan, if he were to dress up, he would be quite handsome. After changing into sportswear, coupled with his short hair, he looked more energetic. What's wrong? Teacher, are you fascinated by my handsome appearance? Li Fan's mouth hung a somewhat evil smile, which made Liao Wushuang's heart suddenly beat faster. Go to hell, who would think that you are handsome? So narcissistic. Liao Wushuang didn't know if it was because she was flustered, but she actually rolled her eyes at Li Fan. This was the first time that Li Fan saw Liao Wushuang roll her eyes, and it was quite charming. Otherwise, why would people say that no matter what you do, appearance is everything? However, after changing into this branded sportswear, Li Fan indeed looked more energetic, and even the salesperson couldn't help but look at Li Fan a few more times. People need clothes and Buddha needs gold. As Li Fan said, the ancients didn't lie to me. However, there was one more thing that made Li Fan somewhat uncomfortable. Even a teacher he just met remembered that today was his birthday, but his parents didn't even call or send him a message. It was impossible to say that they didn't care about it. The two of them were so crazy that they didn't even care about themselves. What's wrong? Liao Wushuang couldn't help but ask when she found that Li Fan was a little lost in thought. Teacher Liao is so beautiful that I couldn't help but stare at her. Li Fan didn't want to say what was on his mind, so he made up an excuse. Student Li, it's not right to flirt with a teacher like this. Liao Wushuang's face was a little red, and she reminded Li Fan. Then, does teacher like being flirted with by me? Li Fan suddenly asked, causing Liao Wushuang's face to turn even redder, lowering her head and not saying a word. I will also buy 2 sets of clothes for myself. Accompany me for a while. As Liao Wushuang spoke, she quickened her pace and took a few steps forward, as if she was trying to escape. Li Fan grinned and put his hands in his pockets as he followed behind Liao Wushuang. But after taking 2 steps, Liao Wushuang slowed down again. She reached Li Fan's side and held him with both hands again. What happened? I'm afraid that you might get lost. All right. Ever since Li Fan started practicing martial arts, he had the temperament of a martial artist and seemed to have matured a lot. After a period of training, he had shed his immaturity. From his appearance, it was hard to tell that he was a high school student who hadn't graduated yet. Especially after he started practicing martial arts, he began to grow taller. Even if he didn't undergo the aberration bone swap, he was still close to 1.78 meters tall. Li Fan wanted to rely on himself to grow to 1.8 meters, but he didn't know if he could achieve it. At this time, he and Liao Wushuang were walking on the street, attracting a lot of attention. Although Li Fan now looked very worthy of the audience, and even looked slightly handsome, but because Liao Wushuang was too beautiful, coupled with her devilish figure, it caused a lot of unbalanced eyes to poke Li Fan's body. But Li Fan was quite proud of himself, even enjoying the envious eyes around him. Although the two of them were not in a relationship, but to be able to take such a beautiful Ms. Perfect out shopping, it was really an honor. I like the clothes in this shop. Liao Wushuang walked into a women's clothing shop and chose a few sets of clothes. I'm going to try on these clothes, don't wander around. Liao Wushuang said to Li Fan, if I don't see you when I come out, you're dead. Teacher, your words are so domineering. Humph, who told you to flirt with me just now? I still haven't forgiven you. Liao Wushuang winked at Li Fan again, then walked into the fitting room next to her. This shop looked very high-end. It should be a place for rich people to spend their money. The surrounding sound system was playing an unknown singer's opera. It was very pleasant to the ear. And Li Fan seemed to smell a faintly discernible fragrance, drilling into his nostrils. Sir, do you need something to drink? The salesperson looked very sweet. She smiled at Li Fan. On the cabinet in front of her, there was a small incense burner. It was unknown what kind of fragrant incense it was burning. No, thank you. Li Fan waved his hand. I'll just casually look around. Based on his experience in the underworld, he would not casually drink things from others. Although he was in the city, Li Fan still remembered this rule in his mind. It has almost become a subconscious reaction. "All right, sir." The salesperson smiled at Li Fan. That smile, although very sweet in Li Fan's eyes, he did not know why, but there was a kind of creepy feeling. This feeling was like a beast sensing some unknown danger. It was like an instinctive reaction. At this moment, the shop's door was suddenly kicked open. More than a dozen people covered their faces, holding machetes in their hands, rushed in from the outside. "That's him, chop him to death." A voice full of anger, the owner of the machete pointed at Li Fan, then pointed at the salesperson next to him. "Squat there, it's none of your business." The salesperson had never seen such a scene. She was so scared that she squatted on the ground. "Hwadahong, it's you." Li Fan had already recognized the owner of this voice. "You still dare to look for me, looks like you don't want your life anymore." "Li Fan, don't be arrogant, I already know that you are a so-called martial artist." Hwadahong directly admitted his identity. "But I've gotten my hands on something to deal with you. You smell it, doesn't it smell particularly good?" That sweet smell became stronger, causing Li Fan to frown. "You drugged it?" "Hee, Li Fan, this is called cartilage powder. It can make you unable to use your true chi for an hour." Hwadahong's eyes were full of hatred. "Because of you, my father was investigated, and my family's property was confiscated. It's all over, all of this is your fault." Li Fan did not say anything. He silently mobilized the true chi in his body, and found out that just like what Hwadahong said, he could not use his true chi. Did Hwadahong set me up? But even if he can predict that I will enter this shop, where did he get the so-called cartilage powder? Liao Wushuang seemed to still be changing clothes inside, but the situation outside was a bit grim. The soundproofing of the changing room seemed to be quite good. Li Fan also hoped that Liao Wushuang would not come out for the time being. "You can't use your true chi, are you afraid?" Hwadahong held the machete in his hand. "Li Fan, you made our family into this. Today I will take revenge." Chapter 277. What is this? Is this a date? Li Fan did not expect that a good date would actually provoke a group of fiends. Hwadahong's furious expression made Li Fan feel that it was funny. "You two only have yourselves to blame. You actually want to blame it on me? Ridiculous." "Bullshit, without you, we are doing very well." Hwadahong angrily said, "It's because of your appearance that we have to suffer all these sufferings. People like you should go to hell." Ridiculous. This is the first time Li Fan heard such a ridiculous statement. "Because of you and your father, an innocent student died. People like you actually say I should go to hell. It's really ridiculous." That was his own suicide. What does it have to do with us? Hwadahong pointed his machete at Li Fan. "Cut the crap, today I will send you to hell." With that, he raised his machete and pounced on Li Fan. Hwadahong is also a person who has practiced some external martial arts. Although it is an overseas martial art, his physical fitness is still very good. His machete is like a tiger chopping a tiger. Li Fan used the strange dragon snake steps and dodged Hwadahong's machete. Hwadahong froze for a moment, but Li Fan smiled and said, "Even if I don't have true chi, the external martial arts that I usually practice will not betray me." With that, Li Fan's right hand mercilessly poked Hwadahong's ribs. Dragon crushing hand. This fierce poke caused Hwadahong to spit out the air in his lungs. He felt his vision turning black. He felt nauseous and dizzy. His legs lost strength and he directly knelt on the ground. Dragon Emperor Snake. This is the highest form of Li Fan's snake strike. Although Li Fan is unable to use true chi, his external martial arts are still there. His strong physique that he has trained daily is also his best partner. However, after knocking down Hwadahong, Li Fan found a bigger trouble behind. Different from Hwadahong, the hatchet men behind him were all experts. They did not have any true chi, but the way they swung their sabers was very ruthless. Each saber went straight for Li Fan's vital points. These people were definitely not ordinary hooligans. They were all trained swordsmen. Li Fan frowned slightly. As he retreated, he muttered to himself. Hua Dahong definitely wouldn't be able to find these experts. It seemed that someone wanted to get rid of him but wanted to push the blame to Hua Dahong. What an idiot. Even after being sold, he still had to count the money. If Li Fan took another 2 steps back, he would almost reach the door of the changing room. No matter what, he couldn't let Liao Wushuang be in danger. Li Fan's eyes flashed. He suddenly took a step forward and lowered his body, brushing past the 2 men's blades and dodging. Then, Li Fan clasped his hands on the heads of the 2 assassins and activated Tiger Strike, pressing down on their heads and smashing them to the ground. Bang bang. Their heads hit the ground, making a loud sound. If Li Fan still had his true chi, perhaps these 2 men would have been crippled. Another assassin came slashing. Li Fan was half squatting on the ground, looking at the shining broadsword. He directly stretched out his hands and caught the steel broadsword with his bare hands. Li Fan's hands bent and actually broke the steel broadsword. He threw out the tip of the broadsword and stabbed it into the assassin's chest, causing him to fall to the ground in pain. But when Li Fan stood up, his body felt weak and his eyes slightly turned black. It seems like the effect of the drug is even more powerful. Ha! Serves you right? Hua Dahong regained his strength to speak and laughed at Li Fan. This bone-softening powder has a miraculous effect on martial artists. Not only it can suppress your true chi, it can also soften your muscles and bones, making you inferior to ordinary people. Do you think you are invincible just because you know how to fight? Like I said, I will personally see you die today. Hua Dahong's hatred rose to a terrifying level. He hated Li Fan very much. It was because of him that the beautiful life he and his father had ended. Hua Dahong, who was used to being a tyrant in school, could not stand this kind of poor life. Those who used to chase after him and flatter him were all gone, and now they were all bullying him. He hated Li Fan. It was this guy who always went against him and his father. If not for him, his good days would still be long. Since he could not live on anymore, he must see him die. But Li Fan's strength was too strong. Hua Dahong could not beat him in the past. Now that he had become a stray dog, it was even more impossible. Just when Hua Dahong was in extreme pain, a person appeared in front of him and was willing to take revenge. Now it seems that what that person said was not false. Li Fan could not hold on anymore, his death was near. 7 to 8 assassins surrounded Li Fan, all of them raised the broadsword in their hands. Imminent peril. If there was a word to describe this moment, it would probably be this. Li Fan's body suddenly stuck to the ground. With a clap of his hands, he forcefully supported his body and slid out from between a man's legs. Even Han Exen could endure the humiliation of being under someone's crotch, let alone himself. After Li Fan slid out, he grabbed the man's ankle with both hands and suddenly lifted it up. But the assassin fell flat on his face, and even his front teeth flew out. At the same time, Li Fan pressed down on his body and kicked out with both legs, forcing the surrounding assassins to retreat. He used this force to pull himself up and landed on the ground. His eyes stared, scaring the assassins into taking another step back. Although his body was weak, his aura was still there. Hua Dahong wanted to scold him, but he did not dare to do so. Damn it, why do I feel that this person has a heroic aura? What kind of hero is he? He's just a villain. Hua Dahong gripped his long saber tightly and followed the 2 assassins towards Li Fan. The 2 assassins arrived in front of Li Fan in the blink of an eye. A long saber had already descended, but Li Fan grabbed the wrist with both hands and blocked the long saber. At the same time, he raised his leg and kicked the man's calf, causing him to fall to the ground and fracture his calf. The other assassin also arrived in front of Li Fan, and the long saber stabbed towards Li Fan's chest. Li Fan leaned to the side, and the long saber brushed past Li Fan's lower abdomen and was passed out. If his clothes were damaged, Li Fan would really die of heartache. Li Fan angrily swung his hand, and his fist was like a pendulum, hitting the assassin's head, causing the assassin to fall on his butt. Hua Dahong also arrived in front of Li Fan. Li Fan did not even make a move and directly shouted, "Scram!" That astonishing aura spread out, scaring Hua Dahong so much that his hair stood on end. The long saber fell to the ground with a clang. Hua Dahong's face was pale, and his legs went weak as he knelt on the ground. An assassin behind him looked at him coldly, thinking, coward. He was the strongest among these assassins, and today he was going to kill Li Fan and make a great contribution. Chapter 278. These machete men had been accepted into the sect since they were young and had undergone strict training. Although they did not practice martial arts, the training they had received was devilish. Many orphans who had been accepted into the sect could not withstand such powerful training. Some of them were crippled and some died. Only they were left, the elites of the elites. Their existence was like a swarm of bats, pouncing on the target and tearing the target into pieces. It was supposed to be a perfect mission, but the target had been weakened by drugs. However, he did not expect that he would still be able to defeat many of his companions. However, the machete man was very indifferent. It did not matter to him that his companions had fallen. This time, the credit belonged to him. The machete men looked at Hua Dahong, who had fallen to the ground, with disdain. Then he leaped forward, waved the machete in his right hand, and slashed at Li Fan's waist. Even Li Fan had to admire them. Although they did not have true chi, the macheteman's machete skills were really beautiful. Especially the person in front of him. The machete in his hand allowed him to perform incisively and vividly. If he was not careful, this machete would kill him for the rest of his life. Li Fan suddenly sucked in his lower abdomen and bounced back with his waist. He brushed past the sword and dodged the macheteman's machete. However, the machete men sneered. His other hand suddenly pulled out a short knife from behind his back and stabbed at Li Fan's heart. No matter how powerful a person was, they had to follow inertia. He had just pulled back his waist, and now he could not move his chest. In this way, this kid was dead for sure. However, to the macheteman's surprise, Li Fan actually jumped on the ground, flipped his whole body, and pressed down on the macheteman's wrist with both hands. The macheteman was stunned for a second, and Li Fan smiled at him. Then, with the force of the downward pressure, Li Fan twisted his body in the air, and his right foot followed his body in a circle. Like swinging an axe, his foot chopped at the macheteman's head. Clang! It sounded like a bell, and it made a dull sound. The machete men directly lay on the ground and fainted. Although Li Fan's body was weak, he had opened the God-connecting meridian and his body had been modified once. Being able to freely control his own body was Li Fan's strongest weapon. In the blink of an eye, these saber men were all taken down by Li Fan. There's a prickly spot. Retreat. There was a swordsman who seemed to be the leader. The longer this dragged on, the more disadvantageous it would be. This was the downtown area. This mission was basically a failure. He gave the order, and the clear-headed bladesmen immediately dragged their companions away. There was also a bladesman who did not forget to carry Hua Dahong away. This kid was still useful to them, so they couldn't just throw him away like this. This group of people came and left quickly. In the blink of an eye, they had left the shop. These people were very cultured. Even if they came in to fight, they didn't mess up the house. It looked as if no one had ever been here. He really didn't leave any evidence behind and handled it very professionally. At that moment, even Li Fan wanted to train such a group of fighters. However, it was just a thought. After all, this was against the law. He was a good student and would never do anything against the law. The saleswoman was still standing there in a daze, unable to believe what had just happened. "Are you okay?" Out of concern, Li Fan asked her. That beautiful saleswoman finally reacted and looked at Li Fan with a little fear in her eyes. Obviously, she thought that Li Fan was a gangster. "Are you okay?" Li Fan asked again. That saleswoman nodded her head again and again. Her head felt like it was about to break. "Don't worry. I'm not a bad person." Li Fan quickly defended himself. "I'm also a victim. But don't call the police for this matter. Don't think that the police can't solve this matter. Don't worry. I definitely won't call the police. I didn't see anything. I really didn't see anything." The saleswoman shook her head like a rattle drum. She looked at Li Fan with fear in her eyes. "I'm really not a bad person." Li Fan was speechless. Yes, Yes, you're a good person, a sincere good person. The saleswoman gave a thumbs up and said in a loud voice, I really didn't see anything. I'm just a clothes seller. I still have to support my family. Please be merciful and let me go. With that, she opened the cabinet door. The money is here. Please take whatever you want. What the? Li Fan was speechless. At this time, Liao Wushuang finally pushed open the locker room door and walked out. This set is not bad. Wrap it up for me. She handed the clothes to the saleswoman. The saleswoman quickly said, As long as it suits you, I'll give it to you. Is there an event in the store today? Liao Wushuang was a little surprised. Li Fan quickly took out his bank card from his pocket. This was the little money he earned from running the billiard hall. Usually, he was reluctant to spend a dime, so he saved about 30,000 yuan. In any case, Liao Wushuang gave him a set of clothes, so he should return the favor. Really don't want money. Quickly swipe the card. Li Fan glared at the saleswoman. The saleswoman did not dare to hesitate. She quickly took the card and processed the payment for Li Fan. It looked like a simple piece of clothing, but it actually cost Li Fan half of his balance. He almost shed tears of blood. Damn, are these clothes made of gold? Is this a gift for teacher? Liao Wushuang took the wrapped clothes and looked at Li Fan, but if it's your parents' money, teacher will not accept it. Don't worry, teacher. I earned it myself. Li Fan also wanted to get his money back, but was he still a man? Yan Kai, that stingy person, guaranteed that he would happily get his money back. But for him, he really can't say it out loud. That would be like slapping his own mouth. With tears in his eyes, Li Fan carefully put his bank card back into the pocket of his pants. As the saying goes, it's hard to make money, but easy to spend it. In the blink of an eye, half of the money that he saved for his wife was spent. This bunch of damn profiteers. A few pieces of cloth can be sold at such a high price. He worked hard to escort the goods and risked his life, but he only earned 50,000. Sure enough, to make money, he still has to do business. Li Fan suddenly remembered that when he escorted the goods, he also played the role of a profiteer. What's wrong? What are you thinking about? Are you distressed about the money? After leaving the store, Liao Wushuang saw Li Fan's appearance and could not help but ask. No. How could Li Fan admit this? Liao Wushuang asked again, why was that saleswoman so afraid of you? Did you bully her? Damn, I'm being wronged. Li Fan felt that he was wronged more than Dou-yi. He quickly explained, how could that be possible? I'm just an honest high school student. How could I bully others? Even if I want to bully her, I can't. My true chi has not recovered yet. Li Fan suddenly muttered, what if a martial artist comes to find trouble with me? Just as he thought of this, a loud shout came from the front. Chapter 279. Hey, is that kid the little overlord, Li Fan? This shout was full of confidence. It was obviously the shout of an expert. Li Fan and Liao Wushuang looked forward at the same time and found out that the one who shouted is a young man with a dignified appearance, wearing a black outfit, like an ancient noble disciple. This is a busy street, surrounded by people. Many people pay attention to this man in black, probably thinking that he is a cosplay actor. This guy, with his hands behind his back, stood in front of Li Fan and Liao Wushuang. Is this your friend? Liao Wushuang can't help but ask. I don't know, probably a psychopath. Li Fan's forehead is full of black lines. I really have a crow's mouth. How can things happen when I don't want it to happen? With my current strength, how can I fight with a martial arts master? I don't even have a bit of true chi. Won't I be torn into pieces? Let's go, I'm hungry. Li Fan pulled Liao Wushuang, wanting to quickly leave here. But the opposite guy obviously doesn't want to let them go, directly reaches out his hand, blocking the two of them. Where do you think you're going? The little overlord is actually a coward. Friend, what are you talking about? I don't understand a word. Li Fan began to play dumb. What little overlord? A game machine? Also, do I know you? Don't play dumb. The opposite man in black loudly said, although you don't know me, I know you. Little overlord, Li Fan, your reputation in Jianghu is nothing but a false reputation. If I'm right, you're just fishing for fame. Today, I'll take care of you and take away your reputation. Did you forget to take your medicine? Li Fan wondered where this madman came from. What Jianghu? What false reputation? You're making me confused. If you don't leave, I'll call the police. You're not the little overlord, Li Fan. The black-robed man flicked his feet and suddenly appeared in front of Li Fan, startling Liao Wushuang who was next to him. He reached out and grabbed Li Fan's shoulder. His frown deepened. You really don't have any zhenqi. Did I mistake you for someone else? As the black-robed man muttered, Li Fan took the opportunity to hold Liao Wushuang's hand. Teacher Liao, this might be a lunatic. Let's go. Oh, okay. Liao Wushuang didn't know what was going on, but she was dragged away by Li Fan. The two of them were about to find a place to eat, but just as they turned a corner, there was a sudden gust of wind above their heads. Li Fan looked up and saw the black-clothed man leaping over their heads, somersaulting in the air and blocking their way. In the downtown area, at the entrance of a hot pot restaurant, a man in black did a somersault, attracting the attention of many people. Mom, that person can fly. Fuck, honey, come out and see a flying man. Is this a movie? Where's the camera? The surrounding passers-by came to watch, and Liao Wushuang was also stunned. He just flew over our heads. Teacher Liao, how about we play a game? Li Fan tried to say, let's play a game with our eyes closed. Whoever opens their eyes first loses, okay? Liao Wushuang rolled her eyes at Li Fan. You're the little overlord, Li Fan. Don't deny it. The black-clothed man pointed a finger at Li Fan with a firm look. You need evidence to speak, how can you be so sure? Li Fan was still making a final effort, but the black-clothed man sneered twice and pulled out his cell phone from his pocket. I, your father, deliberately looked it up on the internet. You're the little overlord, Li Fan, I can't be wrong. Modern society is killing people. Li Fan was a bit on the verge of collapse, while Liao Wushuang was somewhat puzzled. Li Fan, what exactly is this little overlord? Do the outsiders now know that you're the tyrant of second high school? No. Teacher Liao, it's a bit complicated. This beautiful lady, you are so delicate and beautiful, just like a fairy. The black-clothed man's eyes suddenly fell on Liao Wushuang, and his eyes immediately became affectionate. After all, seeing a peerless beauty like Liao Wushuang, there was almost no man who could not be moved. A passionate man like the black-clothed man was even more so. He was a proud son of heaven since he was a child, and after he grew up, he was surrounded by many beautiful women. In his eyes, any woman would be tempted by him. A beautiful woman like you, only I can have it. The black-clothed man said with a smile, I, Yan Xiao, am a Tang sect expert, with superb skills and looks like Pan, and congratulations, woman, you're qualified to be my woman. You're right. Liao Wushuang turned to Li Fan and said, he might have really forgotten to take his medicine. Are you two deliberately fooling me? Yan Xiao was furious, thinking that there was actually a woman who did not like him. This was really unforgivable. I get it. Yan Xiao suddenly thought of something and said, you probably only see a hypocritical man like Li Fan, you don't understand what a real master is. Rest assured, beautiful lady, now I'll let you know what a real master is. With that, Yan Xiao reached out his hand and touched his waist. On his waist hung a dart bag, which was filled with Tang Sect's darts. 3 darts went straight to Li Fan, while Liao Wushuang was behind Li Fan. Although he could not use his true qi, his unique eyesight was still there. He could dodge these 3 darts. However, if he dodged, Liao Wushuang behind him would definitely be in danger. Li Fan immediately raised his arm and used his arm to block these 3 Tang darts. Puff, puff, puff. These 3 Tang darts sank into Li Fan's arm and got stuck in the bone. Sure enough, it's just a false reputation. Seeing that Li Fan could not even dodge his darts, Yan Xiao immediately sneered, with this kind of showy but impractical strength, you actually dare to create false reputation in Jianghu. Today I, Yan Xiao, will take your head. Li Fan, are you okay? You're injured. Liao Wushuang was dumbfounded. Everything in front of her was a bit beyond her common sense. You idiot! Li Fan directly cursed at Yen Xiao. Are you retarded? There are ordinary people behind me. You actually threw darts. It's you who is too trash. Yen Xiao coldly snorted. Without any strength, you dare to call yourself a little overlord. Ridiculous, really ridiculous. Today, let me, the elite of Tang sect, condescend to beat you, this so-called little overlord. I'll turn you into a little bastard. Don't fight, fighting won't do. Liao Wushuang still tried to dissuade him, but Yen Xiao had already thrown 2 Tang darts. These 2 Tang darts were very vicious. They went straight for Li Fan's eyes. If they hit, Li Fan would have to bid farewell to the light forever. Chapter 280. This Tang sect's Yen Xiao in front of him has at least the strength of an expert. But Li Fan's true qi hasn't shown any movement. Obviously the effect of the drug is still there. Li Fan looked at the time. There are about 5 minutes left before the 1 hour. In other words, he must hold on for about 5 minutes in front of this expert. The 2 darts have already arrived in front of his eyes in an instant. Usually, Li Fan can just reach out and confiscate the 2 darts. But now, he lacks true qi. If he forcibly catches the darts with his hands, his palms will definitely be pierced. If his palms are pierced, he can't stop the darts, and his eyeballs will also be destroyed. Behind him is Liao Wushuang. Li Fan suddenly turned around and hugged Liao Wushuang, pressing her against the tree behind him, while tiptoeing. Puff puff! The 2 darts hit Li Fan's back, causing him to grimace in pain. You go to the side for a while? Let me talk to this psychopath. Li Fan said, reached out and pushed Liao Wushuang away, while Yen Xiao laughed. Ha, you really don't have any strength. I usually don't even bother to pay attention to a braggart like you. Today you're lucky to be defeated by a real expert. Fucking retard. Li Fan endured the pain in his body, looking at the arrogant Yen Xiao in front of him. Looking at his proud look, Li Fan suddenly rolled his eyes, and then said, Hero Yen, you're a Jianghu hero, how can you bully a powerless high school student like me? Is that okay? Who told you to hang the title of Little Tyrant? Yen Xiao looked at Li Fan with a smile, as if looking at a feast. What does this have to do with me? Li Fan said with great grievance, Hero, I'm not a martial arts master, and I'm not a little overlord. Actually, my name is Li Si, I have a twin brother named Li Fan, he's really powerful. Listening to Li Fan's nonsense, Yen Xiao was stunned for a moment. Could it be that what he said was true? Didn't you test my strength? How can a martial arts master be like me? Li Fan continued to pretend to be wronged. I'm not the little tyrant at all. Hero, even if you kill me, you won't be honorable. Killing a normal person won't have any positive effect on your reputation in the martial world, right? Are you really not Li Fan? Didn't you find out just now? If I were Li Fan, wouldn't I have already started fighting with you? Would I still be wasting my breath here? Li Fan's idea was to stall for time as long as possible. As long as his true qi recovered, it would be his world. Since you're not Li Fan, I really shouldn't use force against you. Even if I beat you, I won't get the title of Little Tyrant. Yen Xiao rubbed his chin and seemed to be deep in thought. That's right, hero, so please let me go. Li Fan struck while the iron was hot. If he could take this opportunity to get rid of this idiot, it would be good. But Yen Xiao looked at Li Fan and then said, I've decided to kill you. After killing you, your brother Li Fan will definitely come to me for revenge. At that time, I'll just kill him. Hee hee, I'm really smart. I'm really good with both the pen and the sword. Fuck, I can see that you're a retard. Li Fan almost vomited blood. This bastard, in order to gain a reputation in the martial world, he didn't hesitate to attack an ordinary person. The rules in your martial world, you can't attack ordinary people, right? Li Fan frowned and looked at Yen Xiao in front of him. Oh, the martial world's rules are indeed like this, but for a proud son of heaven like me, I am the rule. He pointed a finger at Li Fan, An ordinary person like you, your life is nothing more than an ant. What does it have to do with me? Listening to this, I can't stand it. Li Fan sighed. He originally wanted to make a joke and muddle through. But in his bones, he has the stubbornness of saving the world. Stimulated by Yan Zhao's words, Li Fan's temper rose a bit. Now, I want to beat you up. You have no strength, but you like to talk big. Yan Zhao's feet bounced, his body somersaulted in the air, and fell in front of Li Fan. At the same time, he stretched out his hand, directly grabbed Li Fan's neck, and lifted him into the air with one hand. You're too fragile. You can't even withstand a single blow. Stop. I'm calling the police. Liao Wushuang couldn't bear it anymore and pulled out her cell phone. But Yan Xiao waved his hand, and a dart hit Liao Wushuang's cell phone. Beauty, if you intervene again, the next dart will take away your beautiful soul. Quickly stop. Liao Wushuang, however, threw her satchel at Yan Zhao's face. Yan Xiao frowned, slapped the satchel, and at the same time, threw a dart. But Li Fan suddenly stretched out his palm, letting the dart hit his palm. Because Yan Xiao didn't put Liao Wushuang in his eyes, he didn't use much strength. The dart hit Li Fan's palm, making Li Fan grimace in pain, but it didn't penetrate his palm. If you have something to do, come at me, don't attack a weak woman. Scum. I'm a heaven's favored one, but you actually call me scum? Yan Xiao lifted Li Fan higher. I'm going to end your aunt's life. But Li Fan grinned, laughing happily, making Yan Xiao frown. You're about to die. Why are you laughing? I'm laughing because you're about to be beaten. What? Before Yan Xiao could understand, Li Fan had already grabbed his wrist with a backhand. He closed his wrist, and that huge grip made Yan Xiao scream in pain. What's going on? How can a mortal without even a little bit of true qi suddenly have such great strength? Yan Xiao didn't understand, but Li Fan's foot has already kicked his face. Yan Zhao's body directly flew out, fiercely fell to the ground, and slid more than 2 meters away. His body spun in a circle, with one hand on the ground, looking at Li Fan in shock and anger. This guy, how can he suddenly have such a strong strength? Li Fan's body shook, and the dart stuck in his body immediately flew to the ground, making a clanking sound. Yan Xiao swallowed a mouthful of saliva. This guy. Mutated? Tang sect disciple, Yan Xiao? Li Fan moved his muscles and bones. Don't you want to have a taste of little overlord strength? As you wish. With that, Li Fan took a step forward, but Yan Xiao felt a great pressure. He swung his hand and threw 3 darts. Tang sect's hidden weapon technique was different from others. Yan Zhao's 3 darts drew an arc in the air, and then flew toward Li Fan from 3 directions. Chapter 281. But Li Fan had also recovered his true qi. To him, this was nothing. He instantly entered the state of ape strike. Both of his hands stretched out like lightning and grabbed the 3 darts. Great sage star picking. No matter how twisted the darts were, in the end, they could not escape from Li Fan's palm. Li Fan's great sage star picking could be said to be the nemesis of concealed weapons. Seeing that the opponent easily confiscated his concealed weapons, Yan Zhao's eyes widened. You lied to me. Yan Xiao was shocked. You are Li Fan. Indeed, I lied to you. Li Fan's face was full of remorse. I am really sorry, I am very sorry. In order to compensate you, I will ruthlessly beat you up and let you feel good. Yan Zhao's nose was almost crooked from anger. Who would beat someone up as an apology? Wasn't this just nonsense? You are too shameless. Hey, you are not qualified to say this. Hearing this, Li Fan could not help but laugh. This brother was too amusing. He could actually say such words. It was really miraculous. Was there anyone more shameless than him? When he was stronger than others, he could act unscrupulously. But when he met someone stronger than him, he thought that person was a shameless scoundrel. The world was really big, there were all kinds of people. Li Fan was a bit unable to restrain his laughter, making Yan Zhao's hair stand on end. What are you laughing at? I am laughing because your brain is broken. Li Fan ridiculed. Yan Xiao, you might have been spoiled since you were young. This world doesn't revolve around you. You are too arrogant. I was only sneak attacked by you. Despicable guy, do you really think you are amazing? You actually dare to preach to me. Yan Xiao had never suffered this kind of humiliation before. He could no longer bear it and directly jumped up. With a flick of his hands, dozens of densely packed darts flew toward Li Fan. Torrential storm of rose flowers. A Tang sect disciple's hidden weapon technique was very powerful. A powerful Tang sect disciple's speed of throwing a hidden weapon could even be compared to a bullet. Although Yan Xiao wasn't that strong, his darts had already reached an abnormal speed. Almost in the blink of an eye, these densely packed darts had arrived in front of Li Fan. In the next second, he would turn Li Fan into a pitiful sieve. Strike. Great sage star plucking. Li Fan exerted his strength to the extreme. His palms seemed to leave after images as he grabbed the darts again and again. A row of palm shadows seemed to appear in front of Li Fan, collecting all the darts. Clang! Li Fan threw the darts on the ground as if they were rubbish. Yan Xiao was so shocked that his eyes nearly dropped to the ground. How could this be? How could his torrential storm of rose flowers be so easily received? He had trained hard in the Tang sect for so many years and was a dignified expert. How could he lose to a fame-fishing person? Yan Xiao felt his anger burning. He was not convinced. Heavenly maidens scattering flowers. Yan Xiao used his strongest strength and threw a handful of darts into the air. The Tang sect's hidden weapon technique was very unique. After he threw it, those darts flew to a height of about 100 meters and actually started to spin in the air. Following that, these darts seemed to have grown eyes as they fell from the sky and pierced toward Li Fan's body. And before they landed on Li Fan's body, these darts suddenly scattered. One dart disintegrated and turned into 6 darts. In the blink of an eye, they fell toward Li Fan's head like raindrops. Li Fan frowned slightly. The number of these darts was really shocking. Even if he used the great sage picking stars, he would not be able to collect them in time. After all, he was an ordinary human and not some thousand-hand guanyin. However, Li Fan had already come up with a solution after thinking about it. Although these darts were large in number, their power was not as strong as the torrential storm of rose flowers. Li Fan stood there with his hands at his waist. Following that, he suddenly pushed in the air. A strong palm wind exploded from his hands and hit the darts in the air. These darts could not withstand Li Fan's palm wind at all. In the blink of an eye, they were all scattered and fell everywhere. The originally powerful darts were now all useless. They could not hurt Li Fan at all. How is this possible? Such a powerful palm wind only proved one thing. Li Fan was a master who had reached the pinnacle. Yan Xiao was a little dumbfounded. This was impossible. This guy was young and didn't look very old. How could he have reached the pinnacle of strength? Could it be that he started practicing boxing when he was in his mother's womb? Yan Xiao did not dare to believe his eyes. He felt that all of this was like a dream. This was a little too inconceivable. Are you done playing? Li Fan suddenly snapped his fingers. Yan Zhao's eyes blurred and Li Fan appeared in front of him. One hand grabbed his neck and lifted him into the air. This was what Yan Xiao had just done to Li Fan. At this moment, it was like reincarnation. Li Fan asked Yan Xiao coldly, "Now it's time for me to have some fun, right?" Without waiting for Yan Xiao to answer, Li Fan had already loosened his hand. However, Yan Zhao's body stopped in the air for a second. In this second, Li Fan's body sank and entered the state of Tiger Strike technique. Fatal blow. Tiger King descends the mountain. Li Fan's hands intersected and his claws kept tearing at Yan Zhao's chest. In just a second, Li Fan had instantly torn more than 10 claws. Yan Zhao's chest was bloody and his clothes were torn into rags. Yan Zhao's body flew out and laid on the ground. In a blink of an eye, he became a bloody man. "How is it, do you still want to play?" Li Fan did not kill him. He would eventually be soft-hearted against a person who was not considered evil. Save me. Yan Xiao was scared to death. He endured the pain and used his qinggong to run away as fast as he could. This guy came fast and ran fast. Li Fan felt that Tang Sek's qinggong was quite good. Clap, clap, clap. Good acting. Many of the surrounding audience began to applaud. Some even took out their cameras to take pictures. Li Fan then realized and quickly covered his face. Fuck, I'm done for. Am I going to be famous? The surrounding crowd was tightly packed. There was no gap at all. Li Fan could not escape with qinggong. That would be too shocking. At this moment, someone outside the crowd shouted. Lu Han. Lu Han is here. Fuck, it's really a movie. Go and see Lu Han. The crowd suddenly rushed in the direction of the voice. Liao Wushuang appeared out of nowhere and pulled Li Fan into the hot pot restaurant next to them. It was a little quiet inside. No one noticed Li Fan. Li Fan was just about to breathe a sigh of relief when Liao Wushuang's words brought him back. Can you explain? Chapter 282. Just now, I actually shot an impromptu movie. Li Fan laughed. Isn't the special effect amazing? Don't talk nonsense. I can't tell if it's a special effect or not. Liao Wushuang gently poked Li Fan's forehead with her finger. You brat. I didn't see it. Your martial arts is very powerful, but it seems not as cool as Bruce Lee. Li Fan didn't know what to say. Although Bruce Lee was powerful, he was only an external master. How could he be compared with an internal master like him? You have such a good martial arts foundation, why don't you become a martial arts star? Liao Wushuang obviously didn't know much about martial arts. She only regarded Li Fan as an ordinary external master. This is internal force. Li Fan was somewhat unconvinced as he told Liao Wushuang. Liao Wushuang asked while ordering the hot pot. What you said is true. Then do you know the 18 dragons subduing palms? This time, Li Fan was stumped. These girls, when it comes to internal force, must they think of the 18 dragons subduing palms? The palm technique described in Jin Yong's novel was indeed very powerful. Li Fan could still remember the appearance of Qiao Feng and Yang Gua in the TV series, who shot out a golden dragon with one palm. In reality, he could also do it, but his true qi had no color, and its shape was relatively vague. Moreover, only when Li Fan entered the state of Toad Strike could he condense his true qi into some shape. The one who could do this best should be Murong Ing. She could turn the virtual into the real, and turn the true qi into other vivid images. But Li Fan's ability was the abnormal bone-changing ability, and his control of true qi was still slightly immature. This was just what Li Fan thought. If others knew that he could divide 3,000 true qi in one breath, they would probably be jealous to the point of peeing. What do you think? You can't even do the 18 dragons subduing palms, how can you call yourself an internal master? Li Fan suddenly didn't know how to explain. Didn't I say that those illusory inner force skills don't exist? Liao Wushuang insisted on her view. Meanwhile, the steaming hot pot was served. Li Fan didn't respond and focused on eating the meat. As a martial practitioner, replenishing energy was the key. Scientifically speaking, the energy in the human body is conserved. Liao Wushuang told Li Fan from her point of view. Like true qi, such a huge power, how can it exist in a fragile carrier like the human body? It was just like how a pistol had to have a hard enough chamber to fire bullets. The human body is made of flesh and blood, so how is it possible to emit true qi? The human body is a universe, and it has its own yin and yang. The yin and yang energies are the key to the cultivation of martial practitioners. This is too unscientific. I can't believe it. Liao Wushuang shook her head. Li Fan used his chopsticks to knock on the hot pot in front of him. Take this hot pot as an example. We have a dantian in our bodies. It's like the hot water in the pot. It's constantly boiling, creating this steaming hot air. But the water in the pot is heated by charcoal or electromagnetic heating. Liao Wushuang continued to ask, where does the human body get charcoal? Where does the energy come from? The first is the intake of food. Li Fan continued to explain, but the intake is only a small amount. The other is the cultivation of the human body's own energy. The true qi circulates once, producing more true qi. This is meditation. This completely violates the law of conservation of energy. Liao Wushuang shook her head again, obviously not believing it. In short, true qi is illusory and illusory. Just like Chinese medicine, there's no scientific basis for witchcraft. There's no way to believe it. Liao Wushuang stayed in the West for too long and was brainwashed by the West. Li Fan didn't know how to help her correct her thinking. The battle between Chinese medicine and Western medicine is not something that can be ended by Li Fan alone. Forget it, I won't argue with you. Anyway, today is your birthday. You're the oldest. Liao Wushuang suddenly smiled at Li Fan. It's fine as long as you're happy. If you like to practice martial arts, it's good to have a good body. But don't be too superstitious about those illusory qigong and the like. Yes, Teacher Liao is right. Li Fan was completely speechless. This girl is too stubborn. Obviously, everything is happening in front of her, but she doesn't believe it. But this is also good. After all, they are ordinary people. It's better to stay away from the world of martial artists. The battle between martial artists is basically a life and death struggle. If a fragile girl like Liao Wushuang is involved, it will be very dangerous. This kind of danger, let him bear it alone. Li Fan ate the hot pot and filled his stomach. His mood was a lot better. In short, today is his birthday. Forget all the unhappy things. But today's hot pot, he felt that the meat was especially tender and the taste was much better than in the past. Why is today's hot pot so delicious? Li Fan couldn't stop eating at all. Could it be that there were poppies? Fuck you, this is a very famous restaurant. Liao Wushuang pointed to the nearby plate of firebird meat. Every ingredient is the best quality meat. The taste is naturally good. Isn't it just hot pot? How good can it be? Li Fan said and pulled the menu over. Seeing that a plate of meat costs 3 digits, he was so scared that he almost vomited the food he just ate. Fuck, this is a scam. Li Fan ate such an expensive hot pot for the first time. Do you need to be so scam? A plate of beef for 780 yuan? This is the finest Wagyu beef. Liao Wushuang is very natural, as if this is her cafeteria. Although the taste is not particularly authentic, it's not bad. In the mainland, it's rare to eat such good Wagyu beef. Teacher Liao, can we eat ordinary hot pot next time? It's hard for me to eat my fill like this. Li Fan is telling the truth. This 780 yuan plate of meat is not even enough to fill the gap between his teeth. Don't worry, it's just a little pocket money. Eat as much as you want, my birthday girl. Liao Wushuang spoke lightly as if she doesn't care about this at all. Li Fan is very embarrassed and put down his chopsticks. What's wrong? I have a feeling of being a gigolo. Li Fan said truthfully. Li Fan, I really didn't expect you to be such a male chauvinist. Liao Wushuang is a little helpless, but she rolled her eyes and suddenly said, didn't you give me a set of clothes? Or even? That's not the same. Li Fan is not a child. He won't be coaxed by this sentence. Just when the atmosphere between the two of them is a bit stiff, a strange voice came from the side. Yo, isn't this the little overlord? What, you want to sell your kidney to eat here? Chapter 283. This annoying voice, but it was very familiar. Li Fan looked up, and sure enough, it was the eldest son of the Yang family, Yang Ruining. Beside him was the cold and iron-faced female bodyguard, Shen Mingjie. Li Fan was very curious. What did this Shen Mingjie look like? Those who liked to use masks to cover their faces were either very beautiful or very ugly. And this Shen Mingjie, what kind did she belong to? But no matter which kind, she and Yang Ruining were the same, belonging to the category of ugly hearts. To actually eat in this kind of place, Li Fan, did you see the wrong price list? Yang Ruining felt superior in this kind of place, or did you buy the wrong ticket in the group purchase? Yang Ruining was planning to mock Li Fan a few more times, but his eyes suddenly fell on Liao Wushuang. This Yang Ruining's eyes were a little straight. Are you kidding me? I am Yang Ruining, the dignified young master of the Yang family, the young master of the vanguard army. I, Yang Ruining, have seen countless women. Changing girlfriends every day is more frequent than changing clothes. But why have I never met such a great beauty, and every time it is always this brat Li Fan who beats me to it? He is nothing, doesn't he just know some martial arts, and he is also a pretty boy who needs to be protected by women. Why are there so many great beauties around him, changing them every day? Could it be that this brat is really a pretty boy? But he is also not handsome. Even if he is a pretty boy, he still needs to look at his appearance. Strange, really strange. Yang Ruining looked at Liao Wushuang's impeccable figure and couldn't help but want to drool. No, he was an experienced and well-educated young master. He couldn't do anything that was out of line and rude. This devilish woman in front of me, she should belong to me. If I gallop on her body, it will be wonderful. Thinking of this, Yang Ruining's heart couldn't help but itch again. That Morong Ing is the leader of the martial arts world. I can't do it. But with an ordinary beautiful woman, there should be no problem. Thinking of this, Yang Ruining tidied up his hair, then put one hand on the table and looked at Liao Wushuang deeply. This beautiful lady, my name is Yang Ruining. Can I invite you for dinner? Li Fan almost burst out laughing. Fuck, spring is still far away. Why can't the young master of the Yang family run out to heat already? If Lu Xinan found out about this, she would definitely laugh to death. However, she was mostly angry that she had to be betrothed to such a scumbag as her fiancé. Li Fan even began to feel sorry for the vicious woman, Lu Xin. It could be seen how much he hated Yang Ruining. Yang Ruining seemed to be very confident in his electrifying eyes, especially since he was dressed in branded clothes. With one look, one could tell that he was a rich young master. He would definitely be able to arouse this woman's interest. Maybe she was already wet. Li Fan, do you know this person? Unexpectedly, Liao Wushuang ignored Yang Ruining at all, but looked at Li Fan strangely and asked. I don't know him. He might be a scammer. Li Fan couldn't be bothered with Yang Ruining. He waved his hand. Waiter, there's a swindler here. Please send him away. When the waiter saw Yang Ruining, he was stunned for a moment. Young Master Yang. Li Fan, you're really ignorant. Yang Ruining grinned. This hot pot restaurant is opened by my family. I have the final say here. Li Fan felt more and more lost his appetite. But Liao Wushuang suddenly smiled like a flower and said to Yang Ruining. In that case, young Master Yang, why don't you sit down and eat together? She winked at Yang Ruining. Today is a special day for me. After all, it only happens once a year. I know, it's a beauty's birthday. Yang Ruining sat down. Then this meal is on me. Okay, then we can eat to our heart's content. Young Master Yang won't feel bad, right? What a joke. Yang Ruining laughed. As long as you have the appetite, you can eat until I close my restaurant. Then I won't be polite with young Master Yang. Just give me 10 servings of all the best quality meat and seafood. Liao Wushuang's words made Yang Ruining blink his eyes. 10 servings. Can you eat it all? Why, young Master Yang, do you feel bad? Liao Wushuang smiled very sincerely. Yang Ruining immediately waved his hand. How could I? Eat as much as you want. Come, 10 servings of each. Go. Liao Wushuang secretly winked at Li Fan. The meaning was obvious. Eat to your heart's content. Li Fan understood. If he didn't eat 100,000 or 200,000 from Yang Ruining today, his surname would not be Li. Don't look at how he ate Liao Wushuang's food, but if he ate Yang Ruining's food, he can guarantee that there won't be any residue left. The kitchen moved quickly, and the ingredients were immediately served. Li Fan ate one by one. In addition to giving Liao Wushuang some meat, he didn't give anyone any space at all. Soon, there was a pile of high plates next to him. No one knew how much he had eaten, and he was still eating like a bottomless pit. Shen Mingjie picked up the chopsticks and was about to pick some meat, but Li Fan blocked her with chopsticks. Shen Mingjie frowned and glanced at Li Fan. Fairy Shen, you are a virtuous and respected heroine in the pugilistic world. You have to take good care of your body. How can you eat this kind of high-calorie food? Li Fan chuckled. A junior from the pugilistic world like me will do it for Fairy Shen. Saying that, he was about to take away the piece of meat under Shen Mingjie's chopsticks. How could Shen Mingjie admit defeat? She immediately used her true qi, and with a flip of her chopsticks, she picked up the meat and dodged Li Fan's chopsticks. Li Fan chased after her with his chopsticks, and the two of them used chopsticks with one hand as they briefly crossed swords over the hot pot. Li Fan was not flustered. He suddenly stretched out his other hand and slapped the table. The wine glass in front of Shen Mingjie's table suddenly jumped, and the wine inside spilled out. Shen Mingjie sat on the chair and slid 2 meters away, dodging the wine. But her chopsticks had no choice but to leave the battlefield, and she watched as the piece of meat was stuffed into Li Fan's mouth. Fairy Shen, you're already so old, it's better not to fight with us juniors. To Shen Mingjie, these words had a strong sense of ridicule. She frowned deeply, and Yang Ruining, who was at the side, also could not help but intervene. Brother Li, it's not the first time we've met. It seems like fate has brought us together. Let me give you a toast. Saying that, he picked up the wine glass and threw it towards Li Fan. While Shen Mingjie stretched out her hand from behind and caught the wine glass in the air, making the wine glass and the wine inside fly towards Li Fan's face. But Li Fan also stretched out his right hand and blocked the wine glass in the air. The two people's true qi acted on the wine glass at the same time, causing the wine glass to freeze in the air. Chapter 284. I don't want to drink young Master Yang's wine. Li Fan laughs. After all, I feel like vomiting when I see young Master Yang. Drinking wine is a bit too much for me. Yang Ruining almost vomited blood, but facing an expert like Li Fan, he is temporarily helpless. He can only rely on Shen Mingjie. Shen Mingjie is also not having a good time. She originally thought that without Murong Ying, Li Fan, this immature kid, is not worth mentioning. She did not expect his cultivation to be so strong that he is able to block her attack. How is this possible? Could it be that this kid had some fortuitous encounter? I, Shen Mingjie, cannot beat Murong Ying, but can't I beat her trash fiancé? Impossible. I am Shen Mingjie, the successor of Cold Ice Palm. How can the dignified ice poison fairy be unable to beat a nameless nobody? What a joke! Shen Mingjie's eyes flash with 2 rays of light. Ignoring the stunned Liao Wushuang, her true qi has been infused with cold ice power. This cup of wine is directly frozen into an ice cube and emits dense cold air. The cold air also follows the two's true qi and seeps into Li Fan's body. But Li Fan's true qi drives his blood to flow quickly in his body as if it is boiling. The powerful true qi brings a huge amount of energy. The energy is converted into heat and white smoke starts to emit from the top of Li Fan's head. Shen Mingjie's hand starts to tremble slightly. That cup of ice wine has already started to melt, and in a moment, it also starts to boil and the wine is bubbling. Shen Mingjie's eyes are filled with shock and disbelief. A mere beginner, how can he have such powerful inner qi? 7 Heroes' energy has a total of 9 stages. Li Fan has already trained to the 6th stage, and his strength is already a hero among men. Once the true qi in his body starts to boil, the temperature is terrifyingly high. Although Shen Mingjie has trained in Cold Ice Palm, she is still unable to block Li Fan's fierce true qi heat. Shen Mingjie's exposed face was roasted red. She seemed to be unable to hold on, but she didn't want to admit defeat just like that. Shen Mingjie struggled to resist Li Fan's true qi with one hand, while the other hand stretched out and slapped the table. The wine glass bounced up, and the wine inside flew into the air. Shen Mingjie stretched out her hand and grabbed it. Then she suddenly flung it at Li Fan. The wine turned into white icicles in her hands and stabbed towards Li Fan. However, Li Fan also slammed the table and lifted the tablecloth. Infused with true qi, the tablecloth instantly became harder than steel. When the icicles hit the surface, they made clanging sounds and were all blocked. Fairy Shen, it would be great if you had 3 hands. Li Fan was still teasing her. Then you might be able to deal with me. brat, don't be arrogant. Shen Mingjie suddenly opened her mouth and spat out an ice arrow. This so-called ice arrow was actually formed from her saliva. In addition to its powerful lethality, it also carried a bit of a disgusting chemical attack. Li Fan was also taken aback. Obviously, he didn't expect that Shen Mingjie could actually play such a dirty attack. This was Shen Mingjie's killing move. When she used this move, it meant that the opponent would definitely die. A killer move, was a move that couldn't be used twice. Generally, those who had seen this move of hers had all been killed by her. This move was indeed fast. In a blink of an eye, it arrived in front of Li Fan. As if in the next second, this ice arrow would tear apart Li Fan's forehead. But who was Li Fan? He had a unique eyesight and was especially immune to fast-killing moves. That Shen Mingjie's move was fast and vicious enough. But in Li Fan's eyes, this icicle was greatly slowed down. Li Fan could even clearly see the edges and corners of the icicle. It was very detailed. After entering the Greater Heights realm, his eyesight had also strengthened. Li Fan knew it in his heart. At the same time, he blew a breath of air towards the ice arrow that was flying over. This was not an ordinary breath of air, but a breath of true qi that was released from the boiling power in his body. This true qi struck the ice arrow and directly blew it away. It brushed past Shen Mingjie's mask and stabbed into the wall behind her. A piece of Shen Mingjie's mask was torn. She covered her face in fear, not caring about the wine glass in the air. Bam! The wine glass was pushed away like a cannonball. It brushed past Yang Ruining's ear and hit the wall behind him. The wine glass directly sank into the wall, deeply embedded. Without tools, it couldn't be taken out. The people in the hot pot restaurant were also frightened. But since their young master didn't say anything, they naturally couldn't say anything. Young Master Yang, I'm very sorry. I won't drink this cup of wine of yours. After Li Fan dealt with Shen Mingjie, he said to Yang Ruining, but our young Master Yang is magnanimous and definitely won't fuss over it, right? Right? What else could Yang Ruining say at this moment? Li Fan, this brat, had been too arrogant recently. But he still had the strength to be arrogant. With his current martial arts, could it be that no one could stop him? Shen Mingjie was a powerful expert. If even she couldn't handle it, what could he do? Fairy Shen. I spent money to invite you here. He said through gritted teeth. How much money did he spend to invite Shen Mingjie? 10,000 a day. Even if he had money, he wouldn't spend it like this. Why did he use such a high price to raise Shen Mingjie? Wasn't it so that she could be of use at a critical moment? In the end, he couldn't even deal with a high school student. This was too disappointing. Young Hero Li. Shen Mingjie couldn't keep her face. No matter what, she was the famous ice poison fairy. Today, she lost to a junior in the pugilistic world for no reason. If word got out, wouldn't people laugh their teeth off? Simply, Shen Mingjie didn't care about bullying the weak. She directly cupped her hands towards Li Fan. Pugilistic worlds matters, pugilistic worlds matters. Our pugilistic world's grievances, might as well settle it with our fists. With that, she stomped her feet. True qi immediately spread out. The surrounding tables and chairs were all moved away by the impact of her innate qi, leaving a large empty space in the middle. Since there were no other customers in the shop besides them, it wouldn't be too shocking. Li Fan. Don't fight. Liao Wushuang seemed to be an anti-war believer. Although she didn't understand the situation, she could tell that Li Fan wanted to fight. This time, I can't be obedient, Teacher Liao. Li Fan took 2 steps forward and stood in front of Shen Mingjie. Since Fairy Shen invited me as a pugilistic world's daughter, if I don't accept the challenge, wouldn't I be a coward? Good, you have the spirit of the pugilistic world. Shen Mingjie put one hand behind her back. I am a pugilistic world senior. I'll let you use one hand. No need. Li Fan didn't agree. I want to win until you are convinced. Chapter 285. What an audacious brat. When Shen Mingjie heard this, she couldn't help but sneer. Shen Mingjie have been in Jianghu for so many years, But this is the first time I've seen a brat like you who doesn't know the immensity of heaven and earth. Whether it's immensity of heaven and earth, won't you know if you try? Li Fan hooked his finger at Shen Mingjie. There's no seniority in Jianghu, only the level of martial arts. Fairy Shen, how about this? I'll give you a handicap of one hand. With that, Li Fan put one of his hands behind his back. He hated this kind of people in Jianghu, who kept saying, I'm your senior, I'm your elder, I'm your senior, I'm 2 years earlier than you and you're already so arrogant. What handicap of one hand? I'll handicap you 3 moves, handicap my ass. What an arrogant guy. If Shen Mingjie was just a little angry flame just now, this time she was already burning with rage. A mere junior actually dared to talk to her like this. Presumptuous, simply too presumptuous. It seems that if I don't teach him a good lesson, he really won't know what is called the real Jianghu. Brat, this is your own death wish, then don't blame me. As Shen Mingjie spoke, her body flew over as light as a feather. Her qinggong was very skilled. She didn't use any other moves, directly using her ice palm, slapping towards Li Fan's head. Her entire right palm is as white as jade, like a white bone. The cold air above it makes people feel fear. Even Liao Wushuang and Yang Ruining at the next table can feel that piercing chill. The steaming hot pot seems to have no feeling. The two of them tighten their clothes at the same time. Terrifying. Is this the power that a human can produce? Liao Wushuang's pair of beautiful big eyes are full of surprise. Shen Mingjie's ice palm has already slapped in front of Li Fan. But Li Fan didn't dodge, he just stood there and greeted it with Bear King seal. Both of their palms clapped together, causing the surrounding air to tremble violently. Even Liao Wushuang and Yang Ruining felt a wave of air coming towards them. Just how powerful were these two people? Li Fan faced Shen Mingjie with one hand, but the impact sent Shen Mingjie flying. She spun in the air and landed on the ground. Her legs turned to jelly, and she staggered back a few steps. Finally, she held onto the wall behind her and stabilized her body. Shen Mingjie's eyes were filled with shock. She couldn't understand why Li Fan was able to surpass her in terms of inner force. He had the power of 5 dragons, and the other party also seemed to have the power of 5 dragons. Let's not talk about where he got the strength of 5 dragons. Just based on the same strength, why was he stronger than me? There must be a mistake somewhere. Could it be that the inner force he cultivated was of a higher level than my Ice Heart Sutra? How could this be? How could his Ice Heart Sutra be weaker than a random junior's inner force? This Frost Heart Sutra was an evil and powerful martial art. This martial art was not easy to practice. All evil martial arts, while powerful, were accompanied by some negative effects. Ice Heart Sutra was like this. If a male cultivates the Ice Heart Sutra, his lower body would not be able to use it. And if a female cultivates the Ice Heart Sutra, she would also lose the ability to have children. So, in order to cultivate this martial art, she had sacrificed too much. Children. And beauty. How could she lose to someone else with the powerful inner force that she had sacrificed so much? I don't accept this. Shen Mingjie roared, and the surrounding ground started to emit white frost. This Shen Mingjie's strength could be seen. But where Li Fan stood, there wasn't a single bit of white frost. It was as if the cold air was afraid of his strength and was dispersed to the side. Li Fan had one hand behind his back and just quietly looked at Shen Mingjie. The corner of his mouth was still hanging that trace of a smile. Fairy Shen, it's not nice to get angry so easily. Li Fan, don't think that you're great. I haven't used my true strength yet. Saying that, Shen Mingjie's body started to emit a trace of white frost. But from now on, I will kill you. Let's have a fair match. Li Fan still had his left hand behind his back and used his right hand to hook his finger at Shen Mingjie. I will still use one hand to deal with you. Arrogant. Shen Mingjie used her qinggong and instantly appeared in front of Li Fan. At the same time, both her palms continuously slapped towards Li Fan's forehead. Double palm attack. This Shen Mingjie's palm technique was indeed not bad. No wonder she was a famous Jianghu veteran. But Li Fan still had his left hand behind his back and only used his right hand in front of him, slapping away the close-range attacks. Crane hand. This move was Li Fan's unique defensive skill. He even closed his eyes and completely relied on his body's perception to move. A 1-meter radius around his body seemed to form a vacuum. Any attack that entered this vacuum would be slapped away by his right hand. Shen Mingjie's attacks became faster and faster, but Li Fan still defended easily, without any effort. It was as if Shen Mingjie was not attacking him, but playing house with him. Shen Mingjie became more and more anxious. She was really a little impatient. She was a famous expert for many years, but she actually could not deal with a junior? Impossible. This was absolutely impossible. Remember, I am Shen Mingjie, I am Ice Poison Fairy. One move to decide victory or defeat. Shen Mingjie suddenly took a horse stance, and her right hand retracted to her waist. At the same time, her right hand seemed to emit dense cold air, as if it was a cold cave from deep winter. Deep winter is coming. Heavenly frost descends. Shen Mingjie's right hand faced Li Fan, and suddenly struck out. At this moment, the surrounding ground was covered with ice crystals. This move seemed to contain all of Shen Mingjie's strength. Even if Li Fan were to fight with her, she wanted to let Li Fan suffer from her cold air. And at this moment, Shen Mingjie's palm, in Li Fan's eyes, was slowed down. At this moment, many thoughts floated in his mind. Against Shen Mingjie's palm, he had countless ways to resolve it. But with Li Fan's monstrous momentum, he chose the most direct method. Dragon-shattering hand. Li Fan's body leaned to the side, and his right hand moved to meet Shen Mingjie's palm. Pooh! Li Fan's finger pierced through Shen Mingjie's palm just like that. The other party screamed in pain, and Li Fan's right hand was also corroded by the cold air, crazily entering into his body. Li Fan's body was slowly covered with white frost. He trembled slightly, pulled out his right hand, and took a step back. Shen Mingjie was even more miserable. One of her hand was crippled, and she knelt on the ground, hurriedly trying to stop the bleeding. Li Fan, I want your life. Watch carefully before you speak. Li Fan had already suppressed the cold air in his body, and coldly said to Shen Mingjie, "You have already lost." Chapter 286. You've already lost. This sentence made Shen Mingjie completely dumbfounded. Unknowingly, Li Fan had appeared in front of Shen Mingjie with a finger on her forehead. It seemed that in the next second, Li Fan's finger would instantly penetrate Shen Mingjie's forehead. From the beginning to the end, Li Fan had kept his promise and only used one hand. And the other hand was behind his back and had never been taken out. Shen Mingjie's mask suddenly cracked open, revealing her true appearance. There was a scar on the left side of her face, which seemed to be caused by qi deviation during cultivation. It was very ugly. Many of the surrounding waiters couldn't help but feel disgusted when they saw her like this. They turned their heads away one after another, and some even retched. Yang Ruining couldn't resist the nausea and felt that his throat was itchy. But in order to maintain his self-cultivation, he insisted on not vomiting. Only Li Fan, looking at Shen Mingjie's face, didn't feel anything at all. His expression was still indifferent. No, no. Shen Mingjie covered her face and screamed again and again, completely losing the calmness and arrogance that an expert should have. Why are you screaming? Li Fan looked at Shen Mingjie and pressed one hand on her shoulder. It was as if a force was injected into Shen Mingjie's body, causing her to pause slightly. Her long hair was scattered at the side, and cold sweat dripped down. Shen Mingjie seemed to have recovered a little consciousness. She raised her head and stared at Li Fan with a hateful gaze. It's all your fault. You're the one who exposed my true face. Today, everyone here must die. All must die. The face is just an appearance. Li Fan looked at Shen Mingjie, who was about to explode with hatred. He didn't know why, but at this moment he only had a kind of pity. It seemed that when one's martial arts reached the peak, some mentality would also change. Shen Mingjie was pitiful and sad. Your ugliness doesn't make me feel uncomfortable. But the ugliness in your heart is the reason why people don't want to look at you directly. What do you know? You're not disfigured. Shen Mingjie roared. You chose your own path. Li Fan retorted. In order to practice this demonic art, you ruined your appearance. Who can you blame? Li Fan began to mutter in his heart. Why was it that the little girl, Murong, was fine as long as she liked to practice this demonic attack? Her face was still so beautiful. Could it be that it was because of her pure in body? To put it bluntly, the wound on your face was caused by the evil in your heart. Let go of your obsession, and maybe you'll become beautiful from the inside out. Really? Shen Mingjie didn't know why, but when she heard Li Fan's words, she felt a little magical. His voice seemed to directly affect the depths of her soul and also touched her heart. After so many years, although his cultivation was very high, the injury on his face had always been an untouchable pain in his heart. She dared not show her face to anyone, including herself. Even when she was sleeping, she would always wear a mask. Countless times in her dreams, she recalled her beauty when she was young. But in a flash, this beautiful face became incomparably sinister, waking her up from her dreams. To Shen Mingjie, her face was the biggest taboo. And at this moment, Li Fan took off her mask. Moreover, he didn't seem to care about his own ugliness. Cultivate in peace, dissolve the evil in your heart. Li Fan felt that Shen Mingjie was not that old, around 30 years old, but her appearance was ruined. It was really a pity. I believe that you'll become beautiful again. I'll try. Shen Mingjie seemed to have decided something. After hesitating for too long, it was time for her to make a choice. She painstakingly used her youth, used her appearance to exchange for power, but what use was it? Wasn't she defeated by this rising star with one hand? And if she couldn't even see him, what was the point of her cultivation? Thinking of this, Shen Mingjie grabbed her long hair and cut it with her hand. Most of her long hair immediately fell to the ground. From today onwards, I, Shen Mingjie, will be accompanied by a green lamp. With that, Shen Mingjie clasped her hands together and bowed deeply to Li Fan. Thank you for telling me the true meaning of life today. Li Fan, we'll meet again. With that, she walked out of the hot pot restaurant with large strides, leaving Yang Ruining stunned. Fuck your grandpa, what is this situation? A good evil disciple was actually made to become a nun by this fellow Li Fan. This is an expert that I spent a lot of money to nurture. After just a few times, this guy voluntarily resigned? Li Fan. Yang Ruining really wanted to vomit blood. No matter what, I am a young master that was born with a golden spoon in my mouth. How did I end up in this state? A high school student can even sit on my neck and take a shit. Li Fan, don't you just know a bit of martial arts? Yang Ruining suddenly took out a black card that symbolizes his identity and slapped it on the table. Li Fan took a look. This is the Centurion Black Gold card. It is definitely the identity of an upper-class person. From today onwards, I'll hire you. Yang Ruining said with a big tone. How much? Name a price. Liao Wushuang at the side frowned deeply. She seems to dislike Yang Ruining's tone. How can a person's value be measured with money? Is he trying to bribe Li Fan? What's wrong? Is our young master Yang so insecure? Li Fan looked at Yang Ruining with a mocking gaze. Li Fan, don't act high and mighty in front of me. Yang Ruining crossed his legs and returned to his elegant appearance. He is also looking at Li Fan. I lost my composure just now. But you and I are not in the same weight class. He shook his wine glass. You only have a bit of martial arts. But martial arts is still inferior. You still have to serve people with power like us. No matter how high and mighty you are, you will have a price as a human. As long as the price is right, even the chief of Wulin will have to kneel down and serve me. I'm sorry about that. My chief of Wulin is quite rich. Li Fan grinned. Yang Ruining thought too highly of himself, didn't he? In China, how many people can compete with my family in terms of wealth? Yang Ruining doesn't believe Li Fan's words at all. My Yang family is not only rich but also powerful. Li Fan, don't forget. So what if you are strong in martial arts? China is a country that is based on officials. As long as the people above say the word, you will become a street rat. At that time, even survival will be a problem. Let's see how you practice martial arts. He adheres to the principle of using the stick and the carrot and continues, but if you obey me, you will be able to live a good life and reach the peak of your life. How about it? Name a price? Chapter 287. Yang Ruining threatened and tempted Li Fan, looking as if he had Li Fan in the bag. He didn't believe that after he said such words, who could still hold it in. He looked at Li Fan triumphantly, waiting for Li Fan to say a price and then kneel in front of him. These guys, they think that they are invincible just by practicing some martial arts? Ridiculous. This world belongs to the minority after all. Most of the wealth in the world is in the hands of the minority. Humans follow their fate. He was born with a golden spoon in his mouth. It was God who had chosen him. Once he was born, he was already above everyone else. These losers below, they can only struggle bitterly and continue to be stepped on by his feet. The only thing they can do is to kneel and lick his toes, striving to beg for charity from him. Including this Li Fan, he is the same. But Li Fan stood in front of him, not saying a word. Yang Ruining stretched out 2 fingers and said lightly, 200,000 a month. Li Fan smiled without saying a word. All right, looks like you are not stupid. Yang Ruining continued, I will give that ugly woman 300,000 a month. How about this? Since you defeated her, it means you are stronger than her. I will give you 500,000 a month. How about it? Li Fan still did not say a word. One cannot be too greedy. Yang Ruining narrowed his eyes. I can tell you my bottom line. 1 million a month I will buy you out for 20 years. After 20 years, when you retire, I will pay you another 100 million as a buyout. Yang Ruining is really generous this time. Even the top international bodyguards do not have such a price. Li Fan, I am already kind enough. A billionaire. If not for me, you will not be able to earn this money in several lifetimes. But with me, you have the qualifications to climb up and can enjoy the happiness that only a few people can enjoy. Are you very grateful to me? Young Master Yang, you may be mistaken. Li Fan laughed. I sell my skills but not my body. I sell my physical strength but not my moral integrity. You should save this 100 million to buy yourself a coffin. Li Fan. Don't be so shameless. Even this price couldn't move Li Fan. Just how greedy was this guy? People should know their limits. Yang Ruining roared, You're not worth 100 million. It's young master who pitied you, that's why he gave you such a high price, understand? If it wasn't for this young master's reward, you could only live like a dog. That's enough. Before Li Fan could speak, Liao Wushuang couldn't sit still anymore. I've already tolerated you for half a day. No matter which family's young master you come from, you're terrible. Liao Wushuang wasn't good at scolding people, so even when she was angry, she was polite. People like you will never understand the value of a person. Live with your money, Li Fan, let's go. Liao Wushuang stood up, took Li Fan's arm, and was about to go out with him. Wait a minute. Seeing Liao Wushuang's perfect figure, Yang Ruining was unwilling to let her leave like this. Let me ask you, what exactly attracted you to him? He has a lot of shining points on him. Liao Wushuang said without hesitation, When I look at him, I feel a sense of peace. When I look at you, I only feel nausea. Li Fan, let's go. Looking at their backs, Yang Ruining shouted from behind, You'll regret this. After going out, Li Fan felt that the air smelled a lot better. With Yang Ruining around, it's really uncomfortable. Teacher Liao, now you should believe in internal force, right? Li Fan suddenly thought of this question, so he asked Liao Wushuang, Haven't you seen it with your own eyes? I guess so. Liao Wushuang was still very confused. All of this was not in line with her materialism. This made Liao Wushuang feel that her worldview was slightly collapsing. Truly, internal force, does it really exist? Liao Wushuang's eyes were still filled with doubt. The world is big, nothing is too strange. Teacher Liao, you don't have to be too confused, just bravely accept the reality. Instead, it was Li Fan who teased Liao Wushuang. But Liao Wushuang pulled Li Fan, blinked her beautiful big eyes at him, and tentatively asked, "Then, can you teach me?" Although I'm a bit old." "Who are you calling old?" That's not what I meant." Li Fan broke out in a cold sweat, saying that a girl as old is indeed a bit suicidal. "Let me test your physical condition first." Li Fan said, stretched out his right hand and held Liao Wushuang's soft little hand. Although it felt good, Li Fan did not do it to take advantage of her. While holding her hand, he tried to send his true qi into Liao Wushuang's body through his palm. But when his true qi touched Liao Wushuang's palm, it made a sound, as if it hit a wall, and Li Fan's palm was directly bounced off. Li Fan was a bit surprised. "What's going on? My true qi actually bounced off?" Li Fan tried again, but he still could not infuse his true qi. "What's wrong?" Liao Wushuang did not quite understand and curiously looked at Li Fan. "Your body seems to be the legendary insulator." Li Fan gently frowned and said, "Insulator? I also heard it from others. This insulator is the constitution that can't cultivate true qi." Li Fan explained, "In other words, true qi can't exist in your body." This is in line with Liao Wushuang's materialistic character, a perfect match. "Oh." Liao Wushuang's eyes were slightly disappointed. "It seems that I have no fate with divine techniques." "It doesn't matter, even if you can't cultivate true qi, you can learn some external techniques to strengthen your body." Li Fan comforted. "That must be very hard." Liao Wushuang shook her head again and again. "Besides, if I let you teach me martial arts, wouldn't you become my teacher? The one who succeeds is the teacher." Li Fan hurriedly said, "Could it be that Teacher Liao is also so traditional?" "That's not it. Let me think about it." Liao Wushuang seemed to be thinking about something, but Li Fan took the initiative to pull her hand. "Well, let's not think about this first. Today is my birthday, so be happy. I'll treat you to a movie, let's go." When Li Fan turned his head, he saw a familiar figure standing on the roof of the opposite building. That man was wearing a black coat, with a sneer hanging on the corner of his mouth, staring at him from the roof. Although the two of them were a few hundred meters apart, both of them have eagle-like vision. Li Fan could even see that the man put his hand on his throat and made a throat-slitting gesture. "Genie Guards, Commander-in-Chief." Chapter 288. At that moment, Li Fan had a bad feeling. All the hairs on his body stood on end. The appearance of this Commander King was definitely not to bring him good news. "Li Fan, be careful." At this moment, Liao Wushuang's exclamation came from behind. Li Fan quickly turned around and saw a man wearing a hoodie walking out from the shadow beside him. The man was holding a black dagger in his hand and was about to stab him. Although it was a sneak attack, it was not difficult for Li Fan to deal with it. However, he did not expect that Liao Wushuang would suddenly block in front of him and use her body to block the knife. Puff! Li Fan did not expect this scene at all. More than 100 ways to deal with the dagger flashed in his mind, but this scene did not appear in his mind. The dagger was stabbed into Liao Wushuang's lower abdomen. The hoodie frowned and immediately retreated. "Damn it, where are you going?" Li Fan tried to grab the hoodie man, but the hoodie man's qinggong was good. It seemed to be specially used for sneak attacks. With a stomp of his foot, the hoodie man disappeared in a few steps. Li Fan wanted to chase after him, but Liao Wushuang was already lying on the ground. He quickly stopped and hugged Liao Wushuang. The dagger was stabbed into her lower abdomen, and blood flowed all over Li Fan's hand. Fine." Liao Wushuang glanced at Li Fan, and then her beautiful eyes closed and she fainted. "Teacher Liao." Liao Wushuang. Li Fan's heart beat faster. He was scared out of his wits. This stupid woman, how could she be so stupid? Li Fan looked back at the top of the building, but the commander of the Genie Guards was nowhere to be seen. Bastard. That damned bastard, he actually played dirty. Li Fan's impression of the Genie Guards was simply bad to the bone. Li Fan did not dare to hesitate. He stretched out his hand and poked Liao Wushuang's acupoints twice. But because Liao Wushuang was an insulator of true qi, His true qi could not be used on her acupuncture points, so he could not stop her bleeding. Li Fan could only let the dagger remain in Liao Wushuang's abdomen as he hugged her and ran on the road. At this time, Li Fan didn't care if it was shocking or not. He used his qinggong and jumped onto a telephone pole. He stepped on a telephone pole, and then with a leap, he crossed a distance of 8 to 9 meters and landed on another telephone pole. Wow, a flying man. Am I dreaming? Fuck, I didn't have time to take a picture and post it on Weibo. The onlookers exclaimed in surprise. They were all annoyed that their phones were too slow to take pictures. Just as they raised their phones, the figure on the telephone pole had already flashed past like a gust of wind. What kind of person was that? How could he jump so high and so far? Could it be Superman? In his arms, there seemed to be another person. Li Fan didn't care how much of an impact he had caused. He rushed to the nearest hospital as fast as lightning, basically bringing sparks and lightning with him. Doctor. Li Fan pushed open the door and entered. He stood in the hall of the hospital and roared. Save her, quickly save her. Li Fan's voice was filled with true qi, reverberating throughout the hospital. Several doctors rushed over and put Liao Wushuang on a cart. One of the doctors even told Li Fan, go and register the patient. After registering, we will deal with the patient. Got it? What department? Trauma department. Li Fan was sent to register, but there was a long queue in the hospital. This hospital seemed to be quite famous. The queue was so long that he could not see the end. Just as Li Fan was about to register, a man in front of him who was also registering sighed, Brother, I guess we won't be able to get in. What's wrong? How come we can't register? Li Fan frowned. If they can't register, how can they see the patient? Liao Wushuang is still waiting for treatment. If they don't pay, what should they do? Liao Wushuang is just an ordinary person. She can't stand it. The people in front are all scalpers. One person can register several times. It's simply not our turn. By the time they finish, there won't be many left. If you want to see the patient, you have to buy the scalper from them at a high price. How dare you? Li Fan was anxious. How could he wait for these scalpers? He immediately walked forward. Two scalpers were still arguing with a person in front of them. You go to the back. I guarantee you can get a number. The two scalpers pulled the middle-aged woman in front of them and shouted. No, I came to queue yesterday, but I didn't get a number. The woman shook her head. My man is still waiting to see the doctor. I can't delay any longer. If you don't let us, we will drag you out. One of the scalpers said fiercely, Do you see? Everyone around us is our people. If you don't get out of the way, I will make sure you can't get a number for a month. The woman was obviously afraid. She subconsciously wanted to take a step back, but she was held by a pair of strong hands. Auntie, don't be afraid. Evil will never prevail over good. The two scalpers looked unhappy. They looked at the teenager who suddenly appeared in front of them. Where did this little bastard come from? I'm telling you, mind your own business. Otherwise, you won't be able to bear the consequences. This is outrageous. Do you know that you're delaying our registration? Li Fan said loudly, The hospital is a place to treat patients and save lives. Many people are waiting to be saved. But you're here to make money from saving lives. Aren't you afraid of losing your family line? Fuck, where did this little bastard come from? I'm telling you, if you don't buy a number from us, no one can see the doctor. This is the rule here. The scalper on the left was tall, wearing a camouflage vest and a black jacket. He reached out and grabbed Li Fan's shoulder. If you talk nonsense again, I'll kill you. Li Fan stretched out his hand and twisted the scalper's finger. The scalper let out a strange cry. With such a big body, he directly knelt on the ground and screamed in pain. His forehead was constantly dripping with cold sweat. This kind of windfall, I'll cut off one of your fingers as a lesson, Li Fan said. With a twist of his hand, the scalper's finger was directly broken by Li Fan. The finger was strangely twisted to a strange angle. Let him go. The skinny scalper next to him was shocked. He directly took out a utility knife from his pocket and tried to cut Li Fan's face. This utility knife was very fragile. A direct stab would basically break it. But if it was used to cut people, it was enough. Li Fan was unmoved. He let the utility knife fall on his face. Ding. He activated his true chi protection and immediately broke the utility knife. But the skinny scalper did not give up. He lifted his foot and kicked Li Fan's crotch. Although Li Fan had practiced true chi, he could not practice it to the level of the second son in the family. But he lifted his foot and kicked the calf of the skinny scalper faster. Chapter 289. With a cracking sound, that skinny scalper's calf was broken. The surrounding scalpers were furious. Li Fan looked up and saw that there were at least 30 to 40 people looking at Li Fan. Some even pulled out a wrench from their pocket, some pulled out a wrench. Each of them glared at Li Fan like a tiger watching its prey. That imposing manner was really shocking, scaring the people in the queue to run away. "Good fellow, there are really a lot of scalpers here." Li Fan sneered. "No wonder the others couldn't get an appointment. Turns out they were all killed by you bastards. Brat, you actually dare to cause trouble in my territory." From the crowd, a man wearing a gray Benelux suit and a pair of black sunglasses walked out. This man was about 30 years old, with a deep face and a Yushi cigarette in his mouth. "I, Zhao Shanken, have been here for more than 10 years. This is the first time I've seen someone as blind as you. What, are you tired of living? Go straight to the morgue. Don't come here to court death." The doctors in the hospital stood far away. No one dared to interfere. The scalpers in this hospital were indeed a disaster. Moreover, their protection was very powerful. No one dared to offend them. Some doctors could not help but worry for this young man. A nurse secretly took out her phone, but was seen by the scalper next to her, who pointed at her with a wrench. "Motherfucker, if you dare to call the police, I will kill you." That nurse was so scared that her phone fell to the ground. "Everyone, aren't you a bit too arrogant?" Li Fan gently clenched his fist. "This is a hospital. Where do you think it is?" "Of course this is a hospital. Otherwise, how can we earn money?" The man in the suit chuckled. "You are not earning money." Li Fan's eyes were filled with anger. "You are drinking the blood of the patients here." "Ah, so what?" The suited man disdainfully said, "This is society. The weak are prey to the strong. Do you understand? Moreover, it's not like we don't allow them to see a doctor. If they want to see a doctor, they can just buy a scalper from us. Since they are here to see a doctor, why would they be short of money? If they don't want to spend money, why would they want to see a doctor? They might as well just die." "Bullshit." Li Fan was so angry that smoke almost came out of his mouth. "What a devil's logic. It's not logic, it's rules." The man in the suit held a cigarette and pointed at Li Fan. "To survive in this place, you need to understand the rules here. Whoever could grasp the rules would be able to survive. And whoever makes the rules is the boss." "Then I'm really sorry." Li Fan clenched his fists tightly, making cracking sounds. "My favorite thing since I was born is to break other people's rules." "Really?" The man in the suit took a few registration numbers from someone else. "I have a few numbers for surgery and trauma. Do you want to register someone with a broken arm or a broken leg? Now that we've met, I'll give you a 20% discount. I'll sell it to you for 800 yuan per account. I think you should keep it for yourself." The moment Li Fan finished his words, he had already appeared in front of the man in the suit. At the same time, he grabbed the top of the man's head with one hand. Using only one arm, he lifted the man in the air. The surrounding people were amazed by Li Fan's strength. Where did this kid's seemingly thin and weak arm come from? "I'll give you one last chance. Bring these shady people and get out of the hospital. Otherwise, I'll make you use all the scalp numbers." You kid dare to touch me?" The man in the suit struggled for a while and realized that he couldn't break free from Li Fan's grasp. He was like an iron tower, standing there, unmoving. "So what if I touch you?" Li Fan sneered. "I want to see if your rules are harder or my fist is harder." With that, Li Fan raised his right hand and clenched his fist. I'm from the yellow uniform group. The man let out a strange cry. Li Fan raised his eyebrows. Yellow uniform group? Wasn't that the organization from Lu Xinan's family? It was said that this organization had eyes and ears everywhere. They had a huge influence in City A. Provoking such an organization was indeed disadvantageous to Li Fan. Even if Lu Xinan came forward to mediate, it would not be so easy to stop those people. After all, Lu Xinan was not her father. She did not have that much authority. However, that was not what Li Fan was thinking about. He only had one thought about these scalpers. Are you afraid after hearing our name? If you're afraid, then kneel down obediently and let me beat you up to vent my anger. A guy like you, even if you're strong, how dare you go against the yellow uniform group? Before he could finish, Li Fan's fist had already landed on his cheek. Bang! The man's body spun and flew out. He was thrown more than 10 meters away and sprawled on the ground. All his teeth had fallen out. So what if I hit you? Li Fan said coldly. Go back and tell your master to do some good for his descendants and get out of the hospital. Beat him up. There's so many of us, don't be afraid. The group of scalpers picked up their weapons and planned to use their numbers to take down Li Fan. However, Li Fan raised his right foot high and gathered it above his head. Then he slammed it down on the ground. Crack! Layers of cracks appeared on the ground, and the marble under his feet was directly crushed by Li Fan. The scalpers who rushed over were so scared that they knelt on the ground and dropped their weapons. They came quickly and they ran quickly as well. In the blink of an eye, they were all gone. Hey, you guys, don't run, the man in the suit's words were leaking. He looked at his subordinates who were running around in panic, and the fear in his heart increased. Who was this young man? He was not even afraid of the yellow uniform group. Damn it. Why did such a person exist? He must be an idiot. Didn't he know how scary the yellow uniform group was? Brother, quick, let's go. One of the scalpers was more loyal. He squatted down and carried the man in the suit on his shoulder. Bastard. One day, the yellow uniform group will take revenge on you. Alright, I'll wait. There's no harm in being in debt. Li Fan laughed. I would like to see how capable the so-called yellow uniform group is. You'll regret it. Only the man in the suit's roar was left in his ears. Li Fan picked up a number for the trauma department and shouted to the people around him. Everyone, continue to queue. There are no more scalpers now. Brother, thank you. Thank you so much. The patients in the queue were very excited. Now they could finally see the doctor without worry. Doctor, this is Liao Wushuang's number. When Li Fan took the number and went to find the doctor, he found that Liao Wushuang's wound had been stitched up. She was lying quietly on the bed and seemed to be sleeping soundly. Chapter 290. Because it's an emergency, even if you register later, we will see the doctor first. The hospital is not as dark as you think. The doctor adjusted his glasses and explained to Li Fan. This action reminded Li Fan of Little Four. But today's matter? Forgive me for being nosy, but you shouldn't interfere. Why shouldn't I interfere? Li Fan was a little surprised. It's already like this, shouldn't I do something about it? You look like you're still in school. In Li Fan's eyes, there was still a bit of childishness that hadn't faded. Yeah, what's wrong? Are you afraid that I'll be bullied because I'm young? I can see that you should have practiced martial arts. The doctor wore a big mask and couldn't see what he looked like, but his eyes were quite deep. He looked at Li Fan with an unfathomable gaze. Li Fan didn't hide it and nodded to admit it. That's right. The doctor nodded. Those people really don't dare to bully you, but let me ask you, can you stay here every day? Impossible, I still have to go to school. How could Li Fan stay in the hospital every day? He was not a doctor. Yeah, you can't stay here every day. After all, you have to go to school and later go to college in other cities, said the doctor. You can manage for one day but not forever. Those scalpers will hide from you today, and tomorrow when you're gone, they'll come again. They make a living out of it, and this is their career. If you manage it today, they'll hide for a few days and earn less money for a few days. When they come again, the price of this scalper might rise again. At that time, what can you do to help? Shouldn't I be able to manage this kind of thing? Li Fan said with some dissatisfaction, if everyone doesn't manage it, will this kind of thing ever end? This is a problem of society itself. Of course we should manage it, but you shouldn't. The doctor dropped this sentence and looked at his watch. It's time for me to get off work. I won't tell you more. You're a very interesting person. I look forward to our next meeting. Aren't you going to treat him? Li Fan was a little surprised. The doctor said as he walked. Someone will help me deal with it. I still have a lawsuit to fight, so I'll be leaving first. Looking at the doctor's retreating footsteps, Li Fan wondered if his big brother was sick. He was a doctor. Why would he fight a lawsuit? Was he supposed to be a part-time lawyer? Li Fan shook his head and put the matter of the doctor aside. At this time, the door of the treatment room was pushed open again, and another doctor and nurse came out. One of them took off his mask and said to Li Fan, "Is he the patient's family?" "Yes, how is she?" Li Fan was very worried about Liao Wushuang. He hoped that nothing bad would happen to her. Otherwise, he would regret it for the rest of his life. The wound has been treated. He's out of danger, but he has a mild fever. The doctor said, "You have to be hospitalized for observation for 2 days. Remember to go through the hospitalization procedures." "Oh, okay, I'll go in a bit." Li Fan felt relieved. As long as Liao Wushuang was fine, everything was fine. Li Fan didn't have time to go through the hospitalization procedures. He walked into the ward first. Liao Wushuang's face was pale, without any color. She was lying on the bed like a sick woman. Even if she was sick, she was still so beautiful. Women, when they were beautiful, they could really be deadly. Li Fan tiptoed to Liao Wushuang's side. His qinggong was excellent, so he didn't make any sound. He was worried that he would wake Liao Wushuang up. Unexpectedly, when he walked to Liao Wushuang's bedside, she suddenly opened her eyes and looked at Li Fan. "You're awake?" Li Fan was a little annoyed that he still woke her up. "I'm a little sad." Liao Wushuang gently pouted and said, "I'm sorry that you got hurt." "No." Liao Wushuang gently shook her head. "I'm just worried. I can't wear clothes that expose my navel in the future." Li Fan was quite speechless. At this time, she was still thinking about beautiful things. "Are you in pain?" "Yes." "Why don't you say it's painful?" "It's painful even if I say it." Liao Wushuang's words made Li Fan unable to refute, as if he was being particularly unreasonable. "I'm really sorry, today is my birthday, but I made you suffer so much." Li Fan was still very annoyed. Liao Wushuang originally had nothing to do with these things, but she was forcibly involved, and on his birthday. There was no worse birthday than this. Li Fan smiled bitterly. Liao Wushuang raised her hand and gently pinched the corner of Li Fan's mouth. "Don't smile bitterly, it's so ugly, I'm not dead. It's better for me to get hurt for you, anyway, I'm used to it." Looking at Liao Wushuang's weak appearance, Li Fan's heart was somewhat distressed. A beautiful woman actually had to suffer like this. "It's okay. It just happened to be on my appendix." Liao Wushuang winked at Li Fan, "But my appendix was removed." At this time, Liao Wushuang could still joke with him. "I'll help you with the hospitalization procedures." Li Fan decided to go out and calm down. Since Liao Wushuang was fine, he was relieved. "Don't go." Liao Wushuang suddenly pulled Li Fan's hand. "What's wrong?" "You stay with me for a while." "But I have to go through the hospitalization procedures." "You can wait for a while." "What's wrong? Are you afraid of being alone?" "No. Maybe because I was stabbed, my heart is a little empty." Li Fan felt that Liao Wushuang was like a child at this time, so he had no choice but to take her hand and sit on her bedside. "I want you to tell me a story." Liao Wushuang's habit came again, causing Li Fan to have a headache. Once upon a time, there was a mountain, and there was a temple on the mountain. The story is so cliché. There was an old monk in the temple who didn't wear a condom. This time, it was Liao Wushuang's turn to be speechless. "Can't you tell a serious story?" I'm just that frivolous. Li Fan winked, making Liao Wushuang laugh. Ouch, don't make me laugh, the wound is splitting open. Is that so? Then I won't tell you a story, I'll tell you a joke. Liao Wushuang was so angry that she wanted to hit Li Fan, but she didn't have the strength. If you can't tell a story, then sing me a song. Ugh. Li Fan saw there were other patients in the room and was a bit embarrassed. Teacher Liao. This is not good. I don't care, I want to listen to a song. When Liao Wushuang's childish temper came out, she couldn't stop it. Are you going to sing or not? You're tuning in to the Passion Pages YouTube channel. We're so grateful for your support, and don't forget to subscribe to join us on this incredible journey through captivating stories. Your generosity through donations truly makes a world of difference, as it's the primary source of revenue that allows me to expand and enhance this channel for you. Thank you from the bottom of my heart for being a part of this adventure.